Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There may be strong language and adult themes. So today is National Thrift Store Day, which is where I would probably be if I didn't have to be doing a stream right now.
Well, now, why would you want to go to a thrift store?
Well, I need a completely new wardrobe, and it's the only thing in my budget.
I haven't been to a thrift store since the pandemic started.
Yeah. Also, occasionally I get lucky and find a bag of Lego.
I got a bunch of stuff I gotta bring into a thrift store.
Well, that too. I wind up trading in the stuff that I don't need. Every time I make a donation, they give me a coupon for 20% off my next order. So
I haven't found one that does that yet around here.
I think that thrift stores are fucking wonderful. That's all there is to it.
I've found a lot of good stuff with them over the years.
Fortunately, most of the ones around here are religiously run.
A lot of them are, but the one we have here, the Savers chain, excuse me, the Savers chain is actually a for-profit business itself, but they have a contract with the DAV. So basically, the donations the vets collect, they buy off of them. But yeah, we've got a Goodwill here too, and I won't go to the Goodwill or the Salvation Army anymore because what I've heard from people who have worked there, that they are basically horrible about exploiting their employees.
Also, Salvation Army has been anti-LGBT.
Yes, that too.
See, I can accept what Goodwill's about more than I can accept what Salvation Army is.
Yeah.
They want to destroy me, whereas Goodwill is just would take advantage of me because I'm disabled. I could go work there for $3 an hour or whatever they charge now, or pay. Excuse me. It's not good, but
well, that's one of the things I'd heard about, that they tend to kind of exploit people with disabilities.
Yeah, I've seen them trying to tote that as a good thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a bit out of it here. I think I had about an hour's sleep. So realizing I don't have my setup right yet.
I was questioning if I was going to get any sleep last night myself.
Yep, man, I did it again because now I can't hear you. That should be better.
Back?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I slept kind of okay.
Yeah, a lot of it for me was just not really feeling tired, and I went to look up one thing on the internet. You know how that goes, and I now have the answer to 12 questions I didn't ask, but...
Yeah, I was kind of going through that just before the stream myself.
Yeah, that's what I was doing last night when I should have been getting to bed at a more reasonable hour, but...
I was up till 4. Well, not quite 4, but in that vicinity. I think I found a good zone for me for sleep, for a sleeping period, and it seems to be between about 3 and 8.
Yeah, I've got appointment tomorrow with my therapist, and I've already told her that what we need to address are the anxiety and sleep issues, and see if maybe she can refer me to somebody who will actually prescribe something for the sleep again, because the only doctor who is taking me serious about that is the one that left the clinic. Oh yes, Slothgrl had. Sorry, I'm moving very slow with everything today. Beep, beep. There we go. Slothgrl was saying about how Petunia found a new spot to sleep with her last night.
Yeah, that's nice.
Which has been strange because she has never. It's actually only been since we moved here that Petunia's gotten up on the bed while she's there. And, she's always just kind of slept on the corner of the bed, never touching her. So this is rather new behavior for her. But yeah, Petunia's finally kind of getting the idea of what being a house cat is. We know she did not have a good life before. And I'm very glad that Slothgrl picked her. Because I don't think many people would have been patient enough with her to get her through all of her bitiness before she finally calmed down.
Well, Slothgrl, I hope you're doing okay. I've been concerned about you.
Yeah.
Okay, for relatively speaking.
Yeah, well, Slothgrl has been starting the difficult paperwork of, having things in order and properly legal. And we're going to have to arrange a teleconference or something with me and her 2 kids just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. We're not really expecting any arguments, but, you never know how people are going to react to things like this. So
Yeah.
And don't want anybody to feel that the decisions are being made without them having the chance to have some input.
Yeah.
It has, however, changed our criteria for getting another vehicle, because now it's pretty much that we have to get a minivan because she's likely to need something that we can get the wheelchair in and out of easily.
Shit. No, I don't. Never mind. I was about to speak out of turn here.
Well, you can always send it to me privately on Twitter if it's something you don't think you should say public.
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
So, Jenny, we're getting a view of the sports ball fields.
No, that you've seen this before. That is the Houston hoedown grounds.
Oh,
Where
okay,
they hold
yeah.
all the tractor pulls and
Right, your
and
fairgrounds
Drumfest
there.
for 3 days at the end of July.
Yep.
And it's just this is one of the only places in town where I can sit under shade till about 1 o'clock. And then it'll be gone. And I'll have to move somewhere else for shade.
I'll tell you
You know,
what,
that's
tomorrow
one of
night
the
we'll
things
do it someplace that you can be under shade the whole time.
It's one of the things I noticed when I moved here to Minnesota. Minnesota doesn't seem to understand the wonder of shade. They don't put trees along their roads and stuff. They don't put trees, on the outside edges of parking lots and stuff. And there's just like fucking almost nowhere that has shade. And it's not just this town. Other towns around that I go to, and they don't have any shade either. They don't put trees in the parks. It's like, what are you doing? Put some damn trees down. You got tens of billions of them around you to get seedlings from. Why can't you transfer some into the place where people live? You save energy and all kinds of good stuff when you do that. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Oh, wow.
Easy on me. Somebody else is deciding to be cuddly now. I think he realized that when I put on the headphones, he kind of reduced the chance that his screaming to get snackage is going to work.
Yeah, I use my trees. He's as a major source for compost and mulch.
Yep. So, anybody have anything interesting going on in their life here?
Yeah. I'm gonna get my nails done later today.
Oh, that's nice.
A friend of mine is buying me a nail job.
Huh.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Gonna go with any colors or anything?
Just the usual kind of red and that kind of junk.
Yeah.
I'm not very standoutish that way.
Yeah, it'd be kind of nice to have mine professionally done once. Of course, yeah, my nails just don't cooperate real well. I can never get a full set. I always, they wind up tearing too easily.
Well, then you get proper tips and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and they end up being tougher than your natural nails. So
yeah.
Yeah, isn't there like some kind of coating you can put on nails to make them really super hard?
yeah, that's what you do when you're putting on fake nails. You're covering the whole nail and extending out, and it's glued on with, it's not an epoxy or anything like that, but it's a firm glue. But now the plastic thing that is the fake nail is much stronger than weak nails. So
Yep.
it's a covering of sorts, but it's not.
The other thing is I can only really get one hand done. My right hand only has 2 nails, and one of those grows really weird. So the thumb's the only normal nail I've got on that hand.
I always found it interesting to have those painted nails with the pictures on them.
Oh, there's some amazing artwork that's done on nails these days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen some really neat stuff.
I think it's like really cool, man.
It is really impressive how, they can get so much detail into such a small area.
I've got too many apps.
Yeah, Slothgrl says I should get 30% discount because I'm missing the 3 fingers.
Well, no, maybe they could just glue some onto the ends of your stubs.
Well, I had hoped that I could find somebody who had a 3D scanner and printer so that they could like scan my other hand and then just print it out as a mirror image to make some, artificial tips for those 3.
Mm-hmm.
Make me some prosthetic fingers. They wouldn't be functional, but at least it would look right.
Well, and then if you got, how fingers get narrower as they get to the top, you'd be able to pick your nose better. No, I'm sorry.
I'd also have a good laugh when I shake somebody's hand and 3 fingers fall off.
That would be fun.
We go with cybernetics.
Has anybody heard of an application called Fing, F-I-N-G?
Fing?
No.
I don't know why I have it on here. All right, I'll just fire it up and find out. Hope it's not a disease. Uh-oh.
An IP scanner.
What's an IP scanner?
Fing app.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what's
Yeah,
an
now I
IP scanner?
If you're, what do they call that again? War? It's got some, fake little militaristic term to it. You go downtown and have a thing like this on, and you can find out whose Wi-Fi signals you can get and whose can you maybe steal because they're not password protected.
Okay.
They were a lot more useful in the early days when people had no clue about password protection, and you could really go downtown and steal all kinds of people's major Wi-Fi. And it was fun.
If you just go to your network settings, you can actually look around at those IPs with that.
Yeah, you can. Skype is owned by Microsoft, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, really warm here as well. It's 89 degrees outside.
Oh,
Felt
yeah.
warmer.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is as far as numbers here, but yeah.
Well, let's see. Oh. It's probably about 74, 75 right now. Maybe a little warmer. Oh, but there's no humidity. That's the good part.
Yeah. Yeah, I can handle the heat as long as the humidity doesn't get out of hand.
It was 65% humidity here.
Yeah, what have we got? Yeah, we're just about at 80 degrees and pushing 60% humidity.
But it's supposed to be
Which
nice
is the
around
point
here.
where it gets uncomfortable. What was that, Jenny?
It's supposed to be nice around here for the next several days. Cooler air is coming in from your direction, so you should be in it too. Just nice weather in the 70s.
I hope so. Friday I should be going out shopping on the bus again.
The Weather Channel is giving me conflicting information on one site. Before I go to, I have on the Google site saying that there's going to be rain. and sometime in the afternoon. But when I actually go to the weather channel hourly report, it's not showing rain.
Oh, lovely. According to Weather Underground, the next 3 days we're going to have scattered thunderstorms
Yeah,
for 3 days solid.
yeah, that's not too bad.
Well, it is if it's raining when I have to be walking around.
Well, get an umbrella.
Yeah, I had one at one time. I have no idea what happened to it.
My weather app here on my computer is showing rain for the next week. I don't know if that's accurate or not. It's been iffy.
Oh, Schwib. Yeah, I was meaning to start making notes of some interesting questions when the conversation lags. And I had one or two, and now I don't know what I did with them.
All right, I got one then.
Okay.
What did you do with the questions you wrote out? Sorry.
I'm going to blame CC for stealing them.
Oh, that's very likely. You're right. Evil CC.
Oh, yeah, we do have gremlins. You know, gremlins love to steal things, and they will return them just after you've replaced them.
Oh, just I went and checked on a friend's bird since they're having a little vacation.
Hey, kitty. And I see in the side chat we've got Robert X and Carol joining us.
Hey. And I made myself some of my family recipe mac and cheese, which turned out really good this time.
I have such a terrible time making mac and cheese. One of the most basic things that's out there, and I can't make it.
This is a slightly modified version of what my grandmother made, and she ran a restaurant selling the stuff.
Yeah, Godless Granny included mac and cheese in a video she made like 2 weeks ago or something. It looks like a good one. I was meaning to try it because, yeah, it's something Slothgrl would really go for.
Yeah, mine uses
I'm
an
not
entire.
a big fan myself, but
Yeah, mine uses an entire block of extra sharp cheddar.
yep. Hey, Ox. So Kitty, what you working on today? Kitty is muted. I can't hear.
You mute in the site.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm going to be making a couple of masks for my nail tech and my sister's nail tech are brothers, and he'll do stuff for my son, like he did some custom shoes for my son, so then I'll do stuff for his son, like I made him a backpack and making him some Sonic masks because he needs a few more. And for whatever reason, he prefers mine to any of the others that he has. So, but speaking of Godless Granny, speaking of Gigi, I will be on with her tonight. just, in case I have to jet, before the end and everything. So we're doing an AMA. So if you have any questions for her or me, tonight at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on her channel.
Yep, I saw the thumbnail for that go up this morning before I went to bed. Apparently, Robert X is not a picky eater.
No, but apparently I was muted. I was going to say, or I was saying, one of these days I'm planning, like, I want to take my son on vacations to visit every state. And one of the earlier ones I'm thinking of doing will be like Georgia and Alabama. And when I'm in Alabama, I'm going to meet up with Gigi, and I'm looking forward to some of her home cooking. Oh, I realized my green screen is not up, but it is trying to do a background. There we go. That's better. I noticed because the little octopus was looking weird. I was like, what the? And I was like, okay, I get it.
I was noticing that distortion in the front, and I didn't know what that was from.
Yeah, no, I was trying to pick up the green screen.
Okay, yeah, it works better if the green screen is behind you rather than in front of you.
Yeah. Also, if it's, actually lit and a screen and not a squishy little George. My son decided to name my octopi. This one's Fred and this one's George. So we got Fred is grumpy and George is grumpy. They have happy faces, but with Roe v. Wade, they're in grumpy mode until we get civil rights back.
Yeah, I love octopeds.
I'm gonna figure out how to make them. I'm gonna make a giant ass one.
Like the size of a beanbag chair.
I wasn't thinking that big, but that would be awesome. You gave me an idea.
Yeah. Yeah, your son could use it for a chair.
An octopus into a chair? That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Well, if you actually wanted to make a big octopus, you should make it 8 feet.
Yes. I mean, I could make it 8 foot in diameter, or that would be, 8 foot in circumference. We'll go circumference instead.
Perp, don't you ever embarrass yourself saying that kind of shit? Yes.
No, I'm wearing pants and a sweater and a shirt.
Huh? No. I'm perp.
I was responding to Ox's comment.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, so we got a Lego creation
Got
here.
Lego build here.
It's his homebrewed Millennium Falcon.
I made it junkyard style.
He made it junkyard style. It's a junkyard style Millennium Falcon.
I see.
Pretty cool.
I built it.
You did, and it's amazing.
And it has a bunch of pieces.
It does have a bunch of pieces. Miss Purple loves it. Everybody loves it.
Actually, my first thought was Benny, the spaceman from the Lego movie.
Yeah.
What would happen if he just got thrown into a bin of random Legos?
Probably that. Probably that. But
Okay, how big would an octopus be in metric?
Octopuses come in all different sizes. There's some octopuses that are only about 8 inches in diameter. There's some that are like 20 feet. So I don't know how you'd set that up.
now, math.
Actually, there are some really tiny ones that are only like 2 inches.
One of the most deadly octopus around is only like 6 inches in diameter, and it's
It's
beautiful
so
blue
tiny.
color.
The blue ring octopus.
Yep,
They're
that's
so
it.
tiny and so cute, but you know,
Don't touch them.
they're small and adorable, but very fierce. They could drop 100 men.
The smallest octopus in the world is less than an inch, 2.5 centimeters, and weighs less than a gram. And the inch is the full length of it from the top of its head with its legs outstretched. Let me see if I can I'll have to save this image and then bring it up.
So I'm not
Good
very good at
call.
math. If I were going to make a beanbag that was 8 feet in circumference, like how wide would that be? Because like I'm trying
Roughly
to.
cut it by thirds. Divide 3.
Yeah. The circumference divided by pi is the diameter.
Okay.
And for what you're trying to do, 3 is just good enough.
Okay. So if I did a 9, then it would be 3 foot across, which would actually be a decent sized beanbag. So I shoot for a 9-foot, circumference to give me roughly, beanbag size. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah.
That works.
I have dyscalculia, so numbers, and it's like dyslexia for math. So
Yep. Slothgrl has that.
I really struggle. Like, I mean, I can do simple stuff like, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, but I do have to work it out and double check myself. The easiest maths I can do is obviously just counting math, with money. Like I can run a till, no problem. But yeah, anything more advanced than that, and I definitely struggle.
Okay, there is the world's smallest octopus. That's as big as they get.
Holy fuck.
It's so cute. I want one.
Oh, man.
It's
Chomp
so
that thing right down.
small. So small.
Yeah, I would have thought that was just a hatchling. I wouldn't have believed that was an adult.
That is so weird. I had no idea.
No, yeah, I didn't. I knew there were some that were only like the size of your hand, but I didn't know they were that small.
I wonder how the small ones compare in intelligence.
That would be interesting.
Octopus only live like a year or 2. That's sad.
Yep.
It's amazing how much they learn in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, and generally, yeah, they live long enough to reproduce, and that's about it.
Yeah, they die shortly after reproducing, usually only after a few months.
Ox says the only good math has a dollar sign in front of it. Oh, hey, Christy.
Christy Santiago. Hi, what are you doing on here?
Yeah,
Should-
about the only time I see Christy is the Leah podcast.
Shouldn't you be giving somebody a buzz cut right about now?
Oh, yeah, I wish that she lived close enough to me to give me a hairstyle.
Oh, Christy, you're exactly the person I'd like to talk to. What do you think about the new wave or the repeat of the old wave of people wearing mullets?
I mean, I just got a haircut, and if you want to be technical, it could be considered a mullet because I have a lot of layering around the face, and the back is longer than the front. But when you look at the hair, you're not going to immediately think like, oh, that's a mullet.
I used to actually have a mullet in high school, but I actually had practical reasons for it. I had to be out in the garden during the day, so I needed something to cover back my neck, like so I wouldn't burn. And they wouldn't allow us to wear hats or anything, so
I've always just pulled mine back in a ponytail just because it's easy. I can't have anything that I have to mess with too much. I mean, it already is taking me way too long to get ready to leave the house today.
But if you see what I mean, like these longest hairs down here are actually from the back of my head.
No,
So
a mullet is where you got a real short up in front.
no, I
You-
know, but I'm saying it. You could. It's shorter in the front than it is in the back. Like that is the overarching broad definition. Because you can have longer mullets where it's, but no. So like technically, this would fit that characterization in the broadest definition of it. But nobody would look at this haircut and be like, "That's Joe Dirt." That was just my point.
I really do not like mullets at all, and I think it's mostly because of in the first fad of mullets, the kind of people who picked them were always these macho shithead dudes, and
Well,
Yep.
the first
like that, and just
the
it
first
just turned-
fad of them actually was in the rock scene.
The fashion mullet and the power mullet have made massive comebacks. They're technically mullets, yes, but they are updated and honestly depends on the person. If you're a hairstylist and or happen to be super stylish, you can totally pull it off. And that whole 1984 Stevie B look, that's making a comeback, and I dig it.
But yeah, I definitely have always liked, the like a curtain bang or like a lot of layering, framing the face because I have a more oval shaped face. So really, I can pull off just about any haircut or style. Like I've done super short, like pixie cuts, and I've done like really long hair.
Do I have enough
Hey, Randy.
for this though?
I don't know. But yeah, I just wanted a bit of a trim. Like the last time I got a haircut was a year ago when my son cut 18 inches off. He snuck up behind me with some scissors, and
Jeez.
that was fun. So I ended up with basically a chin length bob, and then we just took about 4 or so inches off. Like the shortest amount they took off was probably about 3 inches here. And then here they obviously took a lot more around the framing. I haven't styled it or anything. Like this was I took a shower, went to bed, and it just kind of do what it do. But another thing I like about lots of layering is you really don't have to. You can style it so that you have those gorgeous where everything looks good. But like even if you don't, it just kind of all like just blends together and just looks fine. It's long enough to put up into a ponytail, which I like because short hair looks cute on me and it's much cooler in the summer, especially since I live in Satan's Taint, Florida. But it's a lot of work because if you don't put products in it, then it can get all like poofy and weird. And so there's that work. Plus, then if you do start to grow it out, there's that weird in between phase where it looks like garbage. And that's never fun. So I've been sticking with like longer hairstyles lately.
I just let my hair grow out, except for the sideburns, which I trim up because it has a tendency to grow over my ears.
Yeah, I've got a decent length in back, but my hair's so fine I can't really do anything with it. That even putting it in a ponytail, I go out in the wind and it starts just pulling out. I've got all this wispy stuff flying all over randomly around the sides.
My hair kind of curls up, so it's not as long, doesn't look as long as it actually is. I think when it's actually wet, it goes down to about the small of my back.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I haven't cut mine since the early 2000s. but I used to have a ponytail that was all the way down to my butt, well, down to my belt anyway. And my ex talked me into cutting it, and since then I can't grow it back to be any longer than my shoulder blades.
Apparently, somebody wants to say hi. Can you say hi to them, sucker? Can you say hi? You just came in from outside. What, do you want to go outside?
Yeah, Puppo is doing the dance. He's like, better let him out or he might
And, like,
leave a puddle.
2 seconds. No, in 2 seconds, she'll be scratching over here saying she wants back in. Like, she just likes going out to chase the lizards. I think that's what it was. She saw the lizards on the screen for the back porch, and she just wants to go chase the lizards. She's actually surprisingly, like, gentle. I don't know that she's ever actually caught a lizard, but, like, with the guinea pigs, she's super duper gentle with them. Like, she doesn't, like, nibble at them or snap at them. She just goes up and just kind of looks at them, just sniffs at them a little bit, like, hi, can we be friends? She does the same thing with the cats, but the cats, are less thrilled to be her friend.
When I was a teenager, we had a dog who used to chase the squirrels, of course, all the time. And one time when I was taking him out, he actually caught one in the alley. And he had it pinned down to the ground under his front paw, and he's looking up at me like, now what am I supposed to do?
I have to move to my next location.
Well, interestingly enough, if dog heaven is also squirrel hell.
Well, I mean, little fucking asshole squirrels getting into the bird feeders.
Oh,
Yeah, that
getting
makes
into
sense.
the bird feeders isn't the worst of it.
Neon yellow. That's awesome.
You got a trash can in neon yellow? That is awesome.
I call them tree rats.
Yeah, well, when I lived in Michigan, they cost me a rather expensive table saw because they were raiding the bird feeders for the sunflower seeds, and one of them was living in the garage, and went to turn on the table saw one day, and there was a huge puff of smoke and a growl, and it threw out all the breakers. And it turned out that the squirrel had been stuffing all of the sunflower seeds it was stealing into the armature of the table saw motor.
Oh, jeez.
So the thing was so packed up with sunflower seeds that it couldn't turn.
My sister got me this. It's a waifu cup.
Oh, sorry, Jenny. I hit the wrong button.
Well, it's fine. She'll come back when she gets to the thing. You didn't have to make it big. I was just,
Yeah. I was just trying to look at what you were holding up, and I screwed it all up.
It's just my little shaker cup, and it's my waifu cup my sister got me.
Generic waifu, huh?
Yes, generic waifu. Well, she has one for herself, too. But her husband actually has like a sponsorship code because he's been doing streaming on Twitch, and like he's just getting started, really small. And so he's got some like discount codes as part of the thing for Swift and Dubby. They're two energy drink brands, like energy powders. You just add them to water with a shaker cup. And so when, they wanted to try all the different flavors, and like, hey, if I'm going to be like doing a promotion, I wanted to be something I've actually like tried. And like they have some really good flavors, but they were selling those cups and they were limited edition things. So my sister got one for herself and one for me. And then I also have a Baby Yoda, a little Grogu cup that my sister got me as well. And it's really good because it gets me drinking more water, because like I drink a lot of caffeine, but caffeine in and of itself is not an issue, but a lot of the added sugars and just other stuff, like, and the added sodium that you have in sodas, it's not the greatest, and this encourages me to drink more water. So, I'll put a whole bottle of water in there, add my scoop of powder, and so, you get some B vitamins and some caffeine, and it encourages me to drink more water. So it's a win-win for me anyway.
Yeah, I brew my own iced tea. That's what I drink most of the time. And a big part of that is just because I can control the amount of sugar in it. So, I have to have some sugar in it, but the way I make it, it's got maybe about a third the sugar of what a can of pop would have.
Never really liked most iced teas, unfortunately.
Well, like I said, that's why I brew my own. It's a mix of black tea, peppermint, and chamomile.
Told you. There she is. She chased the squirrels and the freaking lizards, and now she wants to come back in.
Yeah, the tea that one of my aunts made from Thailand was probably about the only iced tea I've really liked. It's basically the black tea, heavy cream, and lots of sugar.
That's the way my mom always drank hers, as a third of the cup was milk. But I understand that that's rather common for Nordic people. Hey, Jenny. Sorry if I bounced you out there.
No, I had to change places to get some shade, and and then as I was traveling over here, the phone overheated and shut down itself. So.
Oh, okay. I was going to make Kitty big to see what she was holding up, and I thought I had knocked you out by mistake.
Well, you might have.
But, I mean, it's all good. You're back, and that's what matters. My headband. I love this thing. I'm trying to find my pattern. I had it here somewhere.
Doggo's back.
Oh.
Yep, Doggo's back. I told you she's gonna go out, chase a lizard, and then come right back.
What's your dog?
Yeah, she was over here like wanting, to go out. We let her out, and I was like, no, she just wants to go chase a lizard that she sees on the screen porch, and then, a minute later she'll be back scratching at the glass to come back in, and it's pretty much exactly what happened.
Doorknob says he's recognizing your trees, Jenny.
I'm sorry, what doorknob?
Doorknob says he feels like he remembers your trees.
Well, yes, we were at this location once before, a couple of weeks ago.
It's really pretty.
I didn't want to drive into La Crosse because I got to be there tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have had to sit around doing nothing in La Crosse for about 4 hours if I went there to do this. So we just get that little scum pond. It's green. This pond looks like this has got to be four city blocks long. I'm on the east end, and the whole thing is covered with that green slime that you see on water.
Yeah, it's still water. So.
Yeah, it sure is. It's a swamp.
You do not want to go swimming in that. You might get some brain-eating amoeba action going on.
Is that actually a slime on there, or is it? I've seen ponds like that were just completely covered in the duckweed seeds.
I'm not willing to go and take a closer look, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird that when the duckweed plants release their seeds, that they can literally cover acres of a pond.
Given the color, it looks like it might be duckweed.
A little better view. Well, it grows all season, and it comes back every year.
Yep. But could also be an algae.
Kind of hard to tell from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, unless you get up close, it's hard to tell. Okay, so now we understand why Doorknob has his sense of humor. The amoebas have eaten half of his brain when he was a kid.
There has only been 4 people that have survived that brain-eating amoeba since they've been keeping records. It's pretty scary shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. Every summer when the temperatures get up in the 90s, we hear about, 1 or 2 cases of it. It's not common, but there's always a couple every year.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard about it, I was watching an episode of Dr. G, which was a show that aired on, it was like the Learning Channel or something. Back before, the Learning Channel became all reality TV. I mean, technically this was a type of reality TV too, but Dr. G Medical Examiner was a show that they took real life cases and then they would show like a little bit of a dramatization of like what led up to it. So there was a case where a kid went swimming in a lake here in Florida and ended up contracting the brain-eating amoeba. So then they'll show the dramatization of like, the kid like playing and then like, the rush to the hospital. And so they add a little bit of extra drama you don't really need. But the stories are still fascinating and they are based on real cases that have happened and that were done by Dr. Jen Garavaglia, who's an actual working forensic pathologist and medical examiner here in Orlando, Florida. She was actually the one. Yeah, she was actually the one who did the autopsy on Kaylee Anthony. If you remember Casey Anthony's daughter that she, killed. They never did an episode on that I know of, which is probably good because that whole thing was a media circus enough, poor child. And like, honestly, I'm not anti-death penalty. Like, I mean, I have a complicated like feeling on the death penalty in that if you know you have the right person, like say Dylan Roof, the guy that shot up the black church, like they caught him in the act, like they knew it was him. So it's like, I'm not going to lose sleep if they put someone like that to death. But the fact of the matter is there's all too often you have people that are innocent on death row and then
Right.
that's just state-sponsored murder. So it's like, if we know it's the person, I'm not going to lose sleep over them not being around anymore. But because you can't guarantee that, I lean more towards abolishment of the death penalty. And I honestly think that the reason Casey Anthony got off was because they made it a capital murder charge. They did not meet the burden of proof for, maybe even like, a slightly lesser charge, but like they could have gotten her on negligent homicide. They could have gotten her on like neglectful parenting. She would have at least seen some jail time for the death of her child, but they went balls to the wall of, we're going to seek the death penalty in this case. And they just didn't meet the burden of proof. And it sucks because I believe that little girl is dead because of the actions of her mother. And, there'll be no justice ever for that little girl. So, in case, like, I do think we seek the death penalty far too often. I think it should, if we're going to keep it, it should be for only the most heinous of crimes when we have all the evidence. Again, your John Wayne Gacy's, your Dylan Roofs, your fucking Ted Bundy's. Like, we know we got the guy,
Yeah.
and it's a really bad crime. They go for, it's like, a robbery gone wrong. They seek the death penalty. It's like, just lock them up in prison. I mean.
Yeah, but ultimately the problem is going to be, who's deciding.
Yeah.
We still, even having that, we still opening up the door to getting it wrong.
Absolutely.
And also, we have is can also cost more to the taxpayers to get that death penalty than just to let them rot in prison.
Yes, it is. It does cost more.
And on top of that, if we want revenge, as it would be, wouldn't it be better just to let them suffer and rot in prison than to have it end for them?
I mean, to be
so
fair, I
quickly?
don't think anyone should rot in prison because I do think that, prisoners should be treated humanely. But yes,
Oh
loss
yeah,
of freedom
you know what I
forever.
mean.
Yeah, I'm just clarifying so that everybody knows. In fact, there's actually somebody right now. There's a candidate running in Florida in the Democratic primary, and like she got some flack because she refused to seek the death penalty, and she personally does not believe in the death penalty, but she's running for attorney general of the state of Florida. She's actually who I plan on voting for in the Democratic primary. Like I tend to wait until right before I do my voting to like I'll get a cursory understanding of who the candidates are earlier on, but I like to do my deep digging like within a week or so of the election, because then if something comes up, like I can, see like how things have gone throughout the entire campaign and anything like any last minute surprises.
I pretty much do the same thing.
And so when it comes down to it, like the ones that I like the most, at least in the Democratic primary of Florida, are William Sanchez. He's running for the Senate seat. Nikki Fried, who's running to unseat Ron DeSantis as governor. I honestly think she has the best chance of doing so out of the others, just personally. Like, Florida's pretty pro marijuana, at least in the populace, among the electorate. And she's also got name recognition, like every time you fill up your gas pump, you can see that the agricultural secretary, like her name is on the gas pumps, and that they were inspected and everything like that. So it's like that subliminal thing. Plus, she's the only elected she was the only Democrat elected in like Florida. And right now she's the only Democrat serving in the state. Like not like the lower stuff, but like, state running, like statewide Democrat, like, and she won in the same year that Ron DeSantis won. She won agriculture secretary. So like the voters already know her. She hasn't had any controversies. She is pro legalizing marijuana,
Yeah,
which is
very
going to win her big.
Yeah, very pro legalizing marijuana. She actually been lobbying for it.
Yes.
So if she got into office, we pretty much guarantee it would be legalized in Florida.
Yeah. So, Nikki Fried, and she'd also be the first woman elected. And polls just came out that, Florida is more a pro-choice state than an anti-choice state. So, having a woman who is like solidly pro-choice, she'd be the first woman elected to the governorship of the state too, which would be awesome. I'm not voting for her because she's a woman, but because I agree with her policies. I just think it's a nice extra, that it would be the first woman elected.
I'll probably be voting for her myself.
And then Aramis Ayala, she's the one running for attorney general, that she's more about like reforming, and, she doesn't like, she got a lot of flack for not seeking the death penalty like automatically in a case. And she's much more like moderate on the death penalty, which I think is a good thing. If we're going to keep it, it should be used sparingly, as opposed to being like, the first thing out the gate. And then the other one is J.R. Gailot or Gaio. I haven't heard his name pronounced, but he's running to basically take Nikki Fried's spot. as agricultural secretary, and he's actually, got a really solid platform of things that he wants to focus on. Protecting our wetlands and dealing, with the invasive species, stopping the sugarcane burning down in South Florida, going and expanding, the marijuana industry, and making it so that people of color aren't, essentially forced out of being able to be producers of it, because it has been an issue. Also, like, the housing crisis that we're having here in Florida, and there's just a lot that he is focusing on. He even wants to lower the cost of feminine products, like things like pads and tampons and things, because they are not cheap, and the prices are going up, not only with inflation, but they're already kind of price gougey anyway. Like, there's a whole thing I was looking at on his website, and I was like, I like this guy, and he seems like a pretty solid dude. And like I said, none of the candidates are 100% representative of my values, but after sampling all of the potential candidates, those are where I'm at for the Democratic primary.
Well, this
Really, Doc?
is like riding a bus. You go find the route you want to take, and you get on the bus, and it doesn't go exactly where you need it to go, but it gets you pretty close.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
you
we're
just gotta take the one that gets you the closest.
unfortunately, short of a revolution, we're kind of stuck with incrementalism. So, like,
Well, basically, we're screwed.
Well, yeah, can we just get it to start incrementing back to the left a bit?
Yeah. And that's what I'm hoping, at least with these candidates. Like, I'm hoping that, Roe v. Wade will get enough people out, to essentially, I mean, the primary, like, that is what it is. Like, people, really any of the choices in the Democratic primary are going to be better than the Republican. But, primaries are very important to vote in, because that's when you really kind of get a say, because a lot of people don't vote in primaries. It's just,
Yeah,
they wait till
primary
the general
turnout tend to be
election.
extremely low.
And, it's in the primaries that you might get your Bernie Sanders style candidates. And if they don't get voted to go face, in the general, then you're stuck with whoever, the Democrats were fielding. And, like, I personally think that, voting in primaries is more important than general elections. You need to do both, but the primaries really important, just because that's how you set the tone for the party going forward. If you allow, the milquetoast center right corporatist Democrats to win every primary, then you can't be mad when you get milquetoast corporatist center right Democrats running things. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, AOC, won in her primary, and it was a safe Democratic seat. So, like, especially, in safe Democratic seats where they're not going to spend as much money trying usually to get a person elected, you can get this grassroots thing going, like what happened with AOC, where you have a more progressive candidate that gets the primary seat, and then they win because that district is going to vote for the Democrat no matter what. But I really think, like, people need to start showing up not only on election day for the generals, but they need to start showing up for primaries too. And you need to check if your state is an open or closed primary state. Like, Florida is a closed primary state, meaning if you are not registered to that political party, you cannot vote in that party's primary. So I am registered as a Democrat, even though I'm not really a Democrat.
I absolutely hate that, because that bolsters is the Democrats artificially.
Yeah, it does the same thing for the Republicans too.
Yeah, it does.
And I think it's undemocratic to have closed primary states. but it doesn't matter. It's part of the political process we have currently.
Well, I don't
And-
think it matters because they use that as to to prop themselves up.
Yes, I know that they use it to prop themselves up, but what I'm saying is, it doesn't, what I'm trying to say is like it's important to, go and vote because, if you're an independent, and live in a closed primary state, it doesn't matter that, the Democrats don't 100% line up with you, or even that the Republicans don't. You pick which party is closer to you, which is why for me, it doesn't matter. Like I am way to the left of the Democrats, but I'm not even in the same fucking hemisphere as the Republicans. So I registered as a Democrat in order to, be able to vote in the Democratic primaries, because in those primaries are where I'm potentially going to see candidates that actually do speak to my values. And
Yeah,
that's what I meant by it
Minnesota-
doesn't matter.
Yeah, Minnesota had the primaries last week, but it's going to be even though it's midterms and most people don't pay much attention to midterms, it's a big year for Minnesota. That on the federal level, we've got a senator and like 8 people going to the House of Representatives, along with the new governor, attorney general, and secretary of state.
This is a little bit off topic, but not entirely. You'll see. Jimmy Kimmel on his show on ABC is on vacation, and it's a thing that they've developed recently. And while he's on vacation, they used to show all these reruns, and they're really annoying. Now what they've started to do is to have various comedians and other people come in and host the show for 2 or 3 days in a row, and then somebody else takes over, and then somebody else, and blah blah blah. Like Chelsea Handler, who has done the show. She's great. She's just great. One of the people they had was that Mark. God, I'm going to say Robinair, but I don't think that's correct. The guy who made the glitter bomb for people who steal packages off your porch.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't have known his name, but I know who you mean.
Yeah.
He's actually quite a funny guy. He could do well having his own show. And last night was Al Franken.
Wow.
And he did this monologue. Oh my God, it was just outrageously funny. He said he went on for like 3 or 4 minutes on how horrible of a person Ted Cruz is.
No arguments
I knew
there.
him. I liked him. Okay, and I think he's horrible. Oh, it was just a riot, but he's a very, very smart man, and he really understands his politics, and it was just great to see him mouthing off. I don't know if he's on it tonight again, but he may be.
Like that's something that really irritated me. It's like the fucking Democrats like need to not be so stupid. Like the Republicans, some scandal happens, like a non-issue, and they circle the wagons, man. They pass out the talking points and they defend their guy.
Yeah.
The fucking Democrats fucking don't circle the wagons. They fucking circle the firing squad and they just eat their own.
Well, the Democrats think that by doing that, they're taking the high ground of, purging out anyone who doesn't fit their message.
What message would that be?
That if you're in office, you don't fuck around and be a hypocrite about it.
Yeah. Yeah, the case
They
with Al
failed at their
Franken was
message then.
especially bad because, he apologized to the woman involved. She didn't really think it was any big deal. She accepted the apology.
It should have just been left alone,
Yeah, well, I can see the way it played out. Yes, he needed to apologize and such, and but if the woman who was supposed to be offended by the whole thing didn't think it was a big deal, he shouldn't have been removed from office for it.
Yeah, like
You know,
that's my
he
point.
made
yeah.
a bad joke, but he was a comedian.
I mean, it's not like, and I have complicated feelings about like the Bill Clinton thing, in that like the infidelity itself should have been between him and Hillary. Like, like I don't think the sex lives of people are the business of anybody else.
Yeah.
However, there is the power imbalance there, and the fact that, this was a man who was known for going after younger, more inexperienced people under his employ. So he's incredibly predatory. So like, yeah, like if you want to go after him, that's it. But it was mostly he got a blowjob, like, he should be impeached for that, and then
Yeah.
he should have never been put on the stand to be able to impeach himself in the first place, in my opinion, because that was a witch hunt. Like Trump's always going witch hunt, witch hunt. The whole thing with Clinton very much did seem like a witch hunt. Now he's a terrible person, and I think he's a sexual predator, but like the way that it was handled was very witch hunty to me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was, and the Republicans were in control of the House and Senate at that time. Or one of them, I forget the exact numbers, but they had a lot to do with it all by themselves. So they just kept grinding, and then they went after Hillary the same way for nothing. This 30,000 emails. Where's her? They still want to prosecute her for that, and they have nothing to prosecute her on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and simultaneously, they're saying about Hillary's emails, and they're being all offended that the January 6th committee was seizing people's phone records.
Well,
Yeah.
if they're concerned about her emails, how about they'd be concerned about Trump having people who
Nuclear
weren't
documents.
No, because the whole
Well, not just
Republican
the
Party is about hypocrisy and double standards.
No, I wasn't going to go about the nuclear documents. He early in his presidency, he had top secret documents in his hand in that Mar-a-Lago. And the sun was going down, so he couldn't see what he was signing. So he had people around him hold up their phones so he could, with their lights, so he could see. I mean, these people weren't, they were just guests. They weren't, authorized to see this classified information. It would have been easy for them to say, click, take a picture.
Yep.
Or video.
I would call that a breach of security there.
Yeah.
But no, and like people are like, oh well, like they're witch hunting, they're go after Trump, but not like Hillary. And it's like, like because of the whole lock her up thing against Hillary, part of it was Trump made the penalties worse. And he bumped up the laws of mishandling classified documents in, I think, 2018. So it's like the reason why they're fucking going so gung-ho at him now is because he's the one that fucking bumped up those laws while he was in office.
You kind of gotta like the irony of that, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Well, I really want to see it pushed through, because one of the things he bumped up with that was that he wanted to make it a minimum 10-year prison sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if the FBI, will really push the case through. And I mean, mostly I just want to make sure there's something that prevents him from ever holding public office again. But he should do some prison time.
Unfortunately, at least, according to Legal Eagle's video, he doesn't think that, that statute as part of that law for, preventing them from holding office again would actually, hold up to the Supreme Court, because he did a thing on Nebula breaking it down. But the TLDR is, because it says in the Constitution, if you are impeached and, removed from office, then you can't hold office ever again. That, is in the Constitution. There's not anything there, and it would essentially be making extra rules for like who can hold the presidency. And he said he's not sure if that would hold up, especially with the current makeup of the Supreme Court.
I thought if they were convicted of a felony that they couldn't run for federal office.
I believe that's correct.
For House and Senate, but not the presidency.
That could be.
Let's see. I think that would be in the Second Amendment.
Yep.
Section B.
Although it does
That's
clearly
what I
say
think.
that nobody can be elected to the office of the president more than twice. So if Trump wants to run again, he has to admit that he lost in 2020. That's probably the biggest thing that will prevent him from running again.
That's just made up stuff. That's a joke. Everybody knows he's not president, and he will be allowed to run.
Yeah, I know.
But it's a damn good joke, that's for sure.
Yeah, again, it's just another example of where his own lies should really be hanging him.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as far as the Republican primaries, the election denier crews are winning quite a few of them.
Well, hopefully that plays to our side in November and they lose the generals. Like
yeah,
that's-
hopefully, if we can really, really get the vote out. The problem is that people on the left are more prone to thinking that their vote doesn't matter and not bothering to vote.
What if it doesn't make
But
The key is to make the message crystal clear that you're not talking about whether or not your vote counts. Yes, it will count, and it has to count because we need it to survive. But if we don't, we're going to be we are no longer going to be a democracy.
Yep.
Then nobody's vote will count because nobody gets a vote.
I don't think
well, yeah, and that's
fear-mongering-
clearly the Republican plan is that they want to make sure that there can never be a fair election again.
Yeah, I don't think fear-mongering is going to convince the disenfranchised voters.
That's not fear mongering. That's absolute truth. These people have been saying this is their plan for the last 30, 40 fucking years.
It's going to come across as fear-mongering because you're
Yeah.
just saying
Then-
vote
then
or
you-
else. That's fear-mongering.
Then you set up a nice little calendar and you show them exactly why this is true. Show them the step by step plan that they've had since Ronald Reagan.
Well, I
This is their
do
goal.
think that, the Roe versus Wade thing is playing out worse than the Republicans expected.
What you need to do is show them something substantive they'll get for their vote, not just that's what we have to prevent from happening.
Right.
I mean, then again, like the Supreme Court is set to rule on a case in like October, I think, maybe a little later than that, of the independent state, legislator theory, which would essentially mean that, yeah, your vote doesn't actually count because the entire state, 100%, could vote for the Democrat. But if the Supreme Court upholds that theory, then the state legislature can say, nope, we're going to put the Republican in.
Oh, it's even worse than that. It's not the state legislature. It's the person who is in charge of the election process for that state. So in some cases, it would be the legislature. But in other cases, it would be just the Secretary of State or just
Yes.
the governor.
I was
One
simplifying.
person gets to
I'm also
decide everybody's
curious.
vote.
I'm also curious about how long do you think you could hold up keeping the Democrats in office, even if you manage to win this next cycle?
Yeah, that's another question that I've been trying to just stay focused on the more immediate one. And yeah, as far as them staying in office, they need to start actually passing some policies that favor working class people over corporations.
Well, the hope is that if Democrats get a majority and we have both houses again and the White House, that we'll be able to undo a lot of the damage that's been done that has helped to guarantee a fascist state.
Yep.
That we'll be also able to undo some of the damage. Oh God, I just lost my train of thought.
Well, part of the problem is the Democrats just aren't very good at getting their message out. That, even when they have accomplished something worthwhile, they're not good at selling it to the media and getting it to the average people.
Oh, okay, I got it again. If we get the House and the Senate and stuff like that, we'll be able to start structuring regulations on elections, as far as the states are going, like the Republicans are doing right now, and make them stay honest. And if we get enough Democrats elected in the states themselves and start carrying some of the houses there, we can undo all this gerrymandering that's gone on and change that forever by changing the structure of how those districts are designed and chosen.
Yeah.
You don't get a bunch of politicians that are doing it for their little statistical reasons, but that you got somebody who's doing it for the honest reasons.
Do we have examples of them doing this in the past?
There are some states who have different committees other than elected officials doing it, one party or the other party.
Yeah, they have
seem to work
independent
just fine with that.
committees. You have an independent, nonpartisan committee essentially drawing the maps as opposed to one party or the other.
Yeah. Or a requirement that you have an equal number of people from each party doing it.
The dangerous part when you need to
Yeah,
change your dual
unfortunately,
blade.
I think Doorknob is largely correct here. I thought the Democrat message was that we are rich dough faces that will let the Republicans do anything as long as it's good for our pockets.
Well, so in other words, you think the Democrats are going to lay down and let them take all of our rights away and turn it into a fascist state?
Pretty much.
Well, then I might as well move right now.
Well, unfortunately, we've seen too much of that. We need to see the Democrats putting up more of a fight. But yeah, this midterm will make a big difference in a lot of things. And, before they were saying the Republicans were going to take control of both houses of Congress. Now it's seeming much more questionable. And even that some of the pundits are saying that the Democrats could actually wind up picking up seats in both houses. So if the Democrats actually have a solid control of both houses, that there isn't any reason that they can't pass the laws they want to pass, then they're going to have to do things that people really support.
This whole thing with Roe versus Wade seems to be turning things around. If Justice Thomas had waited until after all these elections and had that whole red wave, if it wouldn't have mattered then.
Yeah. Well, the Republicans miscalculated. They did it because they thought that this was going to secure all the religious people on their side.
Unfortunately.
Somehow they missed all of the polls that said that 80% of the people, supported Roe versus Wade.
Even religious people. I mean, not all of them. Like a lot of the evangelicals are very anti-choice, but there are more than a few Christians, religious people in general that support a right to choose. I mean, fucking abortion is considered, a medical procedure and perfectly kosher in Judaism.
The evangelicals are a minority religion in this country by far.
Yep.
And
I think what's really sorry, what you?
Never mind.
I think what's really getting people is the stuff making the news that the Republicans are pushing the absolutely no exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of people who, even though they would generally oppose abortion, that someone who's the victim of rape or incest, they were okay with it. So when we're hearing about the 10-year-old girl from Ohio who had to run to another state to get it done, people are looking at that and saying, no, the Republicans have gone too far this time.
Or here in Florida, they just found a 16-year-old girl who has no parents, an orphan, is pregnant, and they determined that she was not mentally or emotionally mature enough to make the decision to get an abortion, but they're gonna force her into motherhood instead.
Yeah.
Because making the decision to terminate a pregnancy requires more maturity than being an actual fucking parent.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like evangelicals make up about 17% of Americans.
I was going to say 20%. So I was
Pretty
in the right
close.
neighborhood.
That's as of 2017.
So it's probably a little higher now. So yeah, probably around the 20%.
I recently heard the story of somebody who had a miscarriage and they're being prosecuted for an abortion.
Yep. That
Oh, yeah.
happened. That was happening even before Roe was overturned.
Yeah. Well, it was all had to do with Facebook turning over their information.
Although, if evangelicals are making up less than 20% of the population, that actually means the nuns, which is, not just the atheists, but anyone who claims they have no religious affiliation, actually outnumber them.
Yep.
Because last I saw, that group made up about 24% of the population. And I think, that's the thing with the Supreme Court and just the Republicans pushing everything on religious grounds is at some point, people have to start asking, we want it based on Christian rules, but on whose version of Christianity? At some point, the Methodists are going to realize that, no, we don't want the Pentecostals doing this.
Looks like it's between 20 to 29% are nuns, no religious affiliation, depending on how you ask it and all that.
I mean, that sounds about right. I mean, because there are people that, are all kinds of different, like, they might even consider themselves kind of like culturally Christian. It's like they might go with their family to church on like Easter and Christmas, but they're not actually practicing. Like, it's not a big part of their life. It's something they do for their family, not so much for themselves.
Yeah, that was including people who still identify as Christian but don't identify with any particular denomination.
Yeah.
Which actually is how the Bible said they're supposed to do it, but
I mean, the Bible said a lot of things that they don't follow.
Yeah.
Big book of multiple choice.
Yeah.
Well, like my grandfather was nominally Christian because at the time everyone was, but my family doesn't care for this interpretation, but I think he was pagan and he just didn't know what it was. Because when something was really bothering him, when he needed to go and pray, he went into the woods and sat on a hollow log. There was a lake on, the corner of his property touched a lake.
No problem there.
Yeah, well, one summer, a family of otters had their litter in that log. So I always refer to that as the Otter Church because that's where my grandfather always went to pray.
That's so cute. Like, that's fucking adorable.
Church of the Baby Otters.
Yes. Otters are so fucking cute.
I love their verbalizations.
Wait a minute. How am I related to Kermit? I'm sorry. I seem to keep talking over Jenny. I'm sorry.
There seems to be a little bit of a delay.
Okay, Doorknob Head, how am I related to Kermit? I missed something here. Oh, all right. Oh,
Got that air here, huh?
well, I talked
Sorry.
over Jenny again, and now I think I've done it too often, and I've gotten her to quiet down. I did not mean to do that.
I mean, like I said, I think there's a bit of a delay, between like when she talks and
Yeah.
it's nobody's fault,
It is not intentional.
Exactly.
Yeah, Slothgrl wants to be back in the UP where nobody hears you for miles.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like my fucking perfect dream is essentially a big ass piece of property that I can build on and just fucking live my life, have my family there and
Say about 100 acres, 200 acres.
Yeah.
exactly 1 to 200 acres and build it up. Like I've talked to Mage about this and I'm like, yo, you could be my gardener. I'll have a greenhouse and a whole garden area. Like, I'll set you up with your own little cottage. Like,
I did get frustrated by feeling too isolated up in Michigan, but also it really wasn't until the pandemic that I got used to shopping online.
Yeah, I could work with about 3 to 10 acres, just for a huge farm garden kind of area.
mm-hmm. Plus, I'd let you have bees, but it'd be on the opposite side of the property to me because I am allergic.
Yeah, bees don't bother me. I don't seem to react.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a life-threatening allergy. It's more a incredibly painful, puffed up, swelling, like welted, like really like it makes my arm get all like if I got stung on the arm, my arm would start looking like Popeye's arm. Like it just really puffs out. But like I don't have anaphylaxis, so it's not life-threatening, but it's not pleasant. So I
Yeah.
just avoid them.
I've weeded my beds with bees swarming all over the place. He's pollinating and never got stung. I've even had wasps in there.
Damn.
Yeah, Slothgrl goes into anaphylactic shock from a bee sting. It is a real risk for her. It's a good thing I don't react because I've had jobs where I've had to clean out multiple wasp nests. So I have had days that I got stung by several dozen wasps in a single day, but I still didn't really react to any of it.
They hurt, but I haven't really had any bad reaction to it.
Yeah. Well, when I was doing the landscaping, there were a couple of times I didn't even realize I'd been stung until I, later on discovered that I had, 3 or 4 red spots on me.
Yeah. I got stung multiple times in my hand and by a yellow jacket once. I think
Yeah.
it was about 7 or 8 times he got me.
Damn. You see, wasps are fucking assholes, man. Like bees, it's one and done. Wasps can just keep fucking stinging you.
Yeah, I was actually in the class in school, and a yellow jacket landed on my shoulder. I thought it was like a wrapper some asshole kid threw on me. I grabbed it. I noticed it was a hornet as soon as I looked at my hand, and things stung me. And it was my good hand too, so I couldn't do any of my work.
Yeah,
I was telling the teacher, I need to go to the nurse's office because of this, and you wouldn't send me.
That's fucked. Like,
Yeah.
I remember once I fucking asked a male teacher to give me a pass to go to the bathroom because I was on my period. I needed to change my tampon. And he was like, no. And I was like, it's a feminine issue. And he's like, still no. So I was like, okay. I grabbed the tampon out of my backpack and I literally, went and motioned like I was just going to do it right in the middle of the classroom. He's like, go, just go. And he didn't like make me like if I said I needed to go to the bathroom after that, like he didn't give me shit for it because he knew I would have literally gotten naked in that class and replaced my tampon just to spite him.
I'm proud of you.
I mean, I'm sorry, it's fucked up. If someone says they need to go to the bathroom, let them go to the bathroom, especially if it's someone, who's having like an issue, be it like maybe they've got diarrhea or they've got their period, what have you. But yeah, no, like I don't fuck around. Like, and I would have too. I would have called his bluff if he didn't, because honestly, whatever. Like, it is a natural thing that happens to people born with uteruses.
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna do?
Yep. Okay, Kitty Slothgrl wants the pattern you use for your mask.
Oh, it is here. Like this one is slightly modified for my son just because of his face shape, but I actually have a bunch that I've done for different sizes, and then I went and got a cheap those cheap like plastic cutting boards you can get at the Dollar Tree for like they're like 2 or 3 of them in a package, and then I traced it out on that and cut it so that this is a lot sturdier than the cardboard that I was using, and this is just like poster board. But
well, through the pandemic, Slothgrl had made like 400 masks, but the ones we've got are getting kind of worn out now. Need to make some replacements.
Kind of like the mask I got. It's a silicone mask. It has this little cartridge area where you actually cut the mask piece out and insert it into the mask. So you can put any mask you want in any filter you want into the mask. The only problem is the bridge of the nose doesn't have any didn't have anything to help seal it. So I had to add a metal strip underneath into the thing with using some silicone glue.
Yeah, Kitty, was that a pattern you got online?
It started as one I got online in the beginning of the pandemic, but then through trial and error, because I made like 700 masks, I modified it. So I did some tweaking of them. I can see like if I can maybe scan it. I could try to scan it.
Yeah, that would
or
be nice.
see if I can find the original.
If you could either find the original or scan the pieces into a PDF and send it to us.
Yeah, I'll look for it because like honestly, it was 2 years ago. I don't remember exactly where I got the original, but
yeah, you might not have it bookmarked anymore.
Yeah, because once I had them, I just would make new templates out of my already existing ones, especially since I had made some modifications, like more so for my son's mask, just because he's got those little elfin features. So he's got like that tiny face and a little pointy chin. So like the difference, let's see. All right, so this would be roughly about the same. This was like closer to the original, still a few modifications, but nothing major compared to my son's. So you can see that what I did is I brought the chin area in and I curved it more, and I also shortened it a little bit down here at the bottom. And this way it just kind of cups under my son's chin a little bit better. So like it goes like that. And like this is the seam allowance. I put extra seam allowance because I like to fold it over and then top stitch it down for stability. So I could get away with cutting it, smaller, because like this looks way bigger than the finished product will be. But it's actually a lot closer to this interior line of what the finished mask size will be. Just because with the extra seam allowance, I'll clip it fold it over and top stitch it down.
Yeah, I had a hell of a time finding a mask that wouldn't blow the air up into my glasses and fog my glasses up.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem I've had with them is they fog up my glasses.
And I tried a number of things to stop that too, and didn't really
Another
find much that worked.
thing.
Yeah, me too. And unfortunately, it's like the only thing that really worked is if I could have something that caused a bit of a gap, between my mask and the chin, so it would vent out the bottom instead of the top.
Yeah. Well, this new mask I found seems to work pretty well once I got the that metal strip on the nose bridge.
That is exactly what I'm looking for in... Got it. I'd put it in a different bag because my sister needed me to replace the elastic and nose wire on some of her masks. These are what I've been using for nose wires. You can get several hundred of them for like $5 or $10 on Amazon.
Yeah, I bought one.
And they are slightly curved on one side, and then there's an adhesive here. And the adhesive actually lasts for quite a while. And I make a little channel inside of the mask so that the nose wire can be replaced because they do go bad after a while. They just break, So then I just take some pliers, pull out the old ones, and slide in the new ones. And
I had to put silicone glue on mine because the adhesive wouldn't stick to the silicone mask.
Yeah, I mean, well, silicone like this, it sticks very well to fabrics, which is, what I'm using. So it works out fine. But yeah, I'm not sure how it would stick to silicone. But
yeah, it didn't work at all for silicone. I had to get a special silicone glue, and even then I had to redo it once.
Yeah, Slothgrl's been getting prepared and making chemo caps. So she wants to make some masks from the same material so they match.
Oh, that's super cute. I love that idea.
She's doing a bunch of those now that, she's going to need some for herself, but she's also going to be donating a lot of them to the chemo center she's going to go to. Because she knows that's a big issue with a lot of people when they start losing their hair.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say, though, like at least, wig technology has come a very long way. And you can get, pretty, even synthetics that are pretty realistic looking. They don't look like wigs, in the traditional sense, but you can also get natural hair ones that obviously would be, even better, but they're more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Slothgrl's
decided he
saying
wants
that
to
the
play bubbles.
wigs are hot, and I think she doesn't mean how they look, but as far as being sweaty.
Yeah, no, they
Yeah,
can be. And synthetic ones do tend to be more like hot than natural ones, just because But then again,
they don't
hair is
breathe
an
as well.
excellent insulator.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. But yeah, no. Like hair is an excellent insulator. Like that's one thing. Like I have to keep the hair off the back of my neck, otherwise the back of my neck will get like 200 degrees. It's insane.
Yeah, this is the mask I got. Has a filtration that you can just cut the thing to fit, and it'll go right in there. So you can have any filter you want in that mask, and it seals up pretty good around your face.
Well, it's nice, but yeah, then what do you buy for the filter?
Anything you want. It comes with a bunch of filters that are about K95 and N95 if similar. But you just cut to the template and you can fit whatever you want into there. Like I said, the only problem is around the bridge of the nose area. You have to just put some metal strip in there because it doesn't seal very well.
Oh, hey, Sydney. I didn't see you come in.
Hello, Sydney. What? You just came back inside.
Yeah, Slothgrl said she's just going to go with hats. But there are more lizards out there.
Yeah. And the squirrel friend might be back. I don't know. There's a squirrel that likes to hang out on our back porch, like just chilling on the screen. And Sakura definitely loves to go chase after that damn squirrel.
We have a squirrel here that taunts Sammy by climbing right up on my living room window screen.
That's funny. It's like squirrels are assholes, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and the rats are looking at the squirrels and thinking, they're but for a fluffy tail go I.
Right? Oh, man. No, but my son got into the bubble solution, and he started blowing bubbles over here, and I know my ass would bust it, like, because, like, when they pop, they leave, like, the soapy water behind, and
Yeah, little film.
Exactly. I'd end up busting my ass over there. I'm like, no. That is not an inside toy because we have wood floors. So, like if it were carpet, I would care a little bit less because like the small amount of soapy water is not really gonna matter. But on the wood floors that I would literally slip on, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So
could get
now
slippery.
he's chilling outside, playing with the bubbles. And Sakura's chasing lizards.
Oh.
And a butterfly. Okay.
I was seeing now they've got the bubble solution that's catnip scented to get your cats interested in them.
That's interesting.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, it might be fun. I remember my youngest two used to have a lot of fun with that with our dog, with our Chow, that they would blow bubbles and she would try to catch them all.
I had a golden retriever chow mix growing up. She looked just like a golden retriever, except she had a black tongue and she had the curly chow tail. She was so sweet. Her name was Ginger because she had like that brownish color. She looked like a ginger snap cookie. Like that's what I thought
funny.
of.
Ours was named Ginger Snap.
Oh, there you go. Like,
Yep.
and Ginger, like, she would let us like fucking dress her up. She was the best doggo.
Yeah, ours looked pretty much like a Chow, except she was a bit larger. And that's the people who gave them to my ex claimed she was a purebred Chow, but she had the mottled tongue, not completely black. So I was convinced she was a Chow Spitz mix.
My dog was a collie Spitz mix.
I was sitting here. I'm so quiet because I'm reorganizing my devices. I hardly ever use my iPad anymore because I lost my Wi-Fi, and it doesn't work. It doesn't have a phone in it, so it won't work. But I'm just amazed here. The iPad is 256 gigabyte memory, and I've got 175.9 gigabyte available, and I've got 267 applications in it, and 10,000 photographs, and 800 songs. It's like,
I mean,
wow.
songs and photos don't actually take up all that much space. It's video files that really take up the most.
Yeah, I've only got 40 of those.
Yeah, it's video files or the the games that have the more realistic graphics. Those are what chew up all your memory.
Oh yeah.
It's just amazing to me how
technology has come.
How much damn space there is.
Yeah.
Where for the same amount of memory you have in that, you would have needed like 6,000 square feet of server room.
Well, and just how much the price has come down just in the last couple of decades for what memory used to cost.
Oh yeah. I mean,
You know, I mean,
it's-
you're paying about the same for memory now as you were 20 years ago, but now you're talking gigabytes instead of megabytes.
yeah.
My only game on it is PUBG, and it takes up 8.01 gigabyte, and the photographs are 14.5 gigabytes.
Yeah, I've been buying these 2 gigabyte external drives for storage. I can actually get even higher ones if I wanted to.
Well, I will never buy a phone or a pad with minimum memory, 64. Some actually sell 32 gigs, but I would never ever get less than 128, and I'd much prefer 256 because look how much you can shove on it.
Yeah, 32
Yeah.
gig would be like the very bare minimum you want to go.
Well, so far I've really only been using my phone as a phone. I haven't used it for doing internet things, but I'm being forced into that I'm going to have Google Chrome running on it and have to have a bunch of applications on it. So I will probably wind up having to upgrade to a phone that is more internet capable soon.
I like to buy these some of these cheap throwaway phones just as extra things if I want to, say throw an app onto it that I might be a little bit questionable about. I can
Mhm.
just stick it on one of the cheap junk phones and not worry about it.
Well,
the
I'm sorry, Jenny, go.
the operating system for the iPad is 7 gigabytes, and the data that it saves to keep itself running is 6.25. So that's like 13 gigabytes for the system to be up and running and actually work. So I think that's interesting. My smallest application is Magnifier that takes up 262 kilobytes.
With my eyesight starting to go slowly, I'm finding that useful.
I've had shit eyesight since I was a kid, so
Well, okay, my phone has 72 gigabytes, of which I've used 5.5.
Jesus perp. All right.
Well,
now,
like I say, I haven't put on any of the internet stuff, so it's like all I've got on there is like an app to make my shopping list and a calculator.
all right, let's see. I
also went through and I deleted as much of the pre-installed stuff off of there as it would let me. Of course, some things like Facebook, it won't let you delete. I can disable it, but I can't delete it.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. I have 256 gigabyte capacity. I have 50 gigabytes free. So I have 197 songs. I have 1,990 videos. I have 33,165 photos, and I have 359 applications. So I use my phone to take video and pictures and stuff like that of my son a lot. Like I'm one of those moms, but I also like save photos of things that I find funny. Like I have a whole meme folder full of just random internet memes that make me laugh.
Well,
I've
that's
been
part
using
of
I've been using my phone for making my videos.
that's part of it too. Is I'm still not used to the idea that I've got a phone that I carry around with me. So when things happen in the moment, it never occurs to me that I've actually got a camera in my pocket.
Yeah.
See, I've used 54.
I mean, I grew up with the idea that there was only one phone in the house and it was attached to the wall in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I've used 54 of the 128 gigabytes on my phone.
Yeah, looks like I win. I use the most. 200 out of 256.
I should go through and actually delete some of the videos I've taken since I don't
Yeah.
need them on there anymore.
Well, part of why I know I'll need to upgrade is that when I have tried to put Google Chrome on there and even do things like the Walmart app on it, it bogs down pretty bad. It just, it doesn't have the processor speed to keep up with the apps.
Yeah, forced obsolescence is a bitch.
I'll also have to research it more because I've always just bought cheap phones. I've always gone on the site and I get like the refurbished phones they've had. So up till now, I don't think I paid more than $30 for a phone.
Getting
And that's the
refurbished
other
isn't
thing,
bad.
that to upgrade to an actually internet-capable one at this point, I'm sure I'm going to need to put down a couple $100.
One nice thing that a lot of places are doing now is it's kind of like a rent to own thing where they just tack an extra 20 bucks or so onto your wireless bill, and essentially then you are able to get the new phone and you pay the
Yeah.
taxes up front, so on like the full cost of the phone, and then you just pay the phone off over 18 months to 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
And that allows you to have the newest. That's the only way I can get it because I can't afford $1,000 iPhone, but I can afford an extra 25, 30 bucks a month to the phone bill. It makes it hurt less, when you're paying a small amount as opposed to like shelling out
Yeah.
fucking.
And if
that
you
much.
happen to have the extra money, you can actually put a little bit more towards it each month too, if you
Yes,
want.
if you want to pay it off faster. And then you can also, if you need to upgrade your phone, you can trade, even if you're not done paying for it, you can trade your old phone in and get the new one and just continue on your way. If you want to keep your old phone and get a new one, then once it's paid off, it's yours. Like you don't have to, which is what I usually do. I don't get the newest iPhone unless something happens to my phone, and then I will just wait until it's fully paid off and then keep it as a backup. Because like I have cameras to be able to keep an eye on my son, if he's in a room different from me, and it just makes life easier where I could be maybe listening to a video while I'm working on my phone, and then I can have the other phone set up for the cameras where I can just glance over. I don't have to keep opening and closing the software. I can just at a glance check and make sure he's okay. Because like I let him play in the backyard. It's a fenced in backyard, but I have cameras covering the backyard as well so that I can actually see him, no matter where he is back there, just for safety thing. I'm a little neurotic.
No, you have to watch out for them. It's actually more than anything, my phone gets used for, Slothgrl texting me from upstairs.
It's like, bitch, get your ass up here. Let's have a girls' night.
Kitty, now that you've been on TikTok for some time now, what do you think of it?
I mean, it's fine, I do like making content on there a little bit more than on YouTube, just because, you can edit a quick 1 to 3 minute video on your phone real quick, get your point out there, get your thoughts out there. But, obviously longer form content, YouTube is better. But overall, I mean, TikTok's fine, like there's a lot of stupidity on there too.
I don't like the vertical video format that they force you into.
But there's still, a lot of stupidity on everywhere else on the internet too. So I think that's just the internet is full of stupid and porn.
Do you watch it on your phone?
I do. Yes.
We'll find out. Maybe you know something I don't. When you're watching videos and you're, scrolling through next one,
Mhm.
and they've got all the writing and shit down on the lower left-hand side. Is there any way to get rid of that while you're trying to watch these videos?
I don't think so. because like it's got like the info about like the video, like and who it is and everything like that. I'm pretty sure that that's just there. What's wrong? Guess everything's okay. He just made a weird noise when he came in. I didn't know if like maybe he got stung by a bee or something. He wasn't like screaming or upset, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
he
Yeah,
didn't
like,
say anything. So
kind of like me when I was little. Come in and hey, look, Ma, snake. Hey, the snakes clamp down on my hand.
I mean, honestly, they don't need that. I'm not the best sewist. Like, I guarantee, you know, the factory workers in China, where all the fast fashion is made, are way better and more efficient at sewing than I am. So, you know, I'm pretty sure that, you know, I don't have to worry about that.
Well, they're probably faster just because they're repeating doing the same thing every day.
Also, they're not disabled and having to take breaks constantly.
That does help.
Or fucking scatterbrained and easily distracted,
Squirrel.
pretty much.
Even worse, kid.
Yeah, that too. No, and it's like my sewing area is rather cramped, but I like keeping it here just because my son likes playing in the backyard. And yes, I have the cameras, but cameras, you know, battery dies or the
Mhm.
signal might go out. Like I like being able to look and just see him with my own two eyes, which I can do from where I'm sitting. It means a cramped and cluttered space, but it gives me the peace of mind of being able to see him because I'm not a helicopter parent because like I'll let him make mistakes and you know I'll let him you know learn hard lessons, but okay, hard lessons like that. He dumped the bubble solution on his head and it got in his eyes. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, Mage, would you look something up?
Hmm?
What percentage of phones are the various brands? You know, you got the Android system, you got the Google, or doesn't Google have, or no, Google is Android. Microsoft has Windows on their phones and iPhone, of course. I'd be interested to hear the percentages of market that they have.
Let's see how many people have smartphones worldwide.
I expect Android is going to be the biggest.
Let's take start with Android. I have to look this up separately. That's shares. How many of all phones are? Well, let's see. Android dominates in global market share, responsible for 71% of all smartphone phone usage.
How about
That's
just
in
in
the
the States?
U.S. state, 47% are iPhones.
Really? Wow.
Let's see what this site says. Loading. That's what the site says. This is giving me statistics on Apple iPhones. Doesn't say anything else about what the others are.
Mm.
Yeah, maybe this one. U.S. mobile smartphone OS market share. That doesn't tell me anything. It looks like Microsoft and BlackBerry are pretty much on the same level as far as shares go.
BlackBerry still exists.
Barely. It looks like the two dominating are Android and Apple, though.
Yeah, I figured that Androids would probably be the largest, with Apple second.
This one's saying a new study shows 87% of U.S. teens have iPhones.
I find it hard to believe that's that high, because I'm sure that, just as many of them should have Android phones.
I don't know. I've seen an awful lot of kids with iPhones. And 'cause especially now that's that new iPhone 13, the size of it, and the 3 lenses on it, so you can spot it far away.
Yeah, and I suppose there is, a certain prestige to the iPhone that maybe it's a bit embarrassing not to have one.
I want to know who the hell can afford those things.
Yeah.
The 13, isn't that like $800 or some shit like that?
I mean, that's why you get them on the payment plan. You basically do it where it adds an extra $20 to your cell phone bill.
Yeah, mine was $600. It wasn't the price I was going for. I was actually trying to find something within more like the $400 range at least, at the most. But I just couldn't find anything.
Yeah, mine
Yeah,
was
worth a
more than
damn.
that because I use mine for taking photos and videos of my son. I splurge on the, the better camera, for that. And so
Yeah,
I have the 12 Pro Max.
Yeah, the camera was a factor in what I was looking for.
I guess the Brits are waking up.
Good morning.
Yep. We've got Jeff and Nerdy here now.
But yeah, so that's what had happened.
Hello, governor.
He dumped bubble solution on his head, and some got in his face and eyes, so I had to go rinse his head off.
Was there a reasoning for dumping it on his head?
Because he could.
Okay.
Apparently. And he does things like that where I don't understand why he does them. He just, because he can. I don't know.
No, I raised kids. I get it.
I'm sure it made sense to him at the time.
Yeah, until it started burning. But I mean, his eyes aren't really red or anything like that. I think most of it got on his, yes, I see the cat.
Cat alert.
But I think most of it just got in his hair and not as much in his eyes, but he still was kind of squinting and like rubbing at him. So, rinsed him off and now he's back out blowing bubbles again. So couldn't have hurt too bad. But no, it's like I was saying before that, I'm not like a helicopter mom in that I don't try to protect him from all the bad things because you can't. He's going to trip and fall and scrape his knee. I can't keep him in bubble wrap. I prefer to be much more of a stealth bomber mom where it's like I let him do his thing and then I'll swoop in if need be. When he was younger, much younger, he refused to wear shoes. And I know I've told this story before, but he would refuse to wear shoes. And he had this massive meltdown. He wanted to play at my parents' house, but they had sand spurs, like the really sharp ones. And I said, you can't go play in the yard unless you put shoes on. And like he made himself ill. He got so upset. So I said, okay, fine, go. And I went and got the first aid kit and I waited. It didn't take more than 5 minutes before he comes screaming, like hopping on one foot up. And, I grabbed the tweezers, pulled out the sand spur, put some antibacterial stuff on it, a little Band-Aid, a little kiss. And he never fought me on shoes again, like, because he understood, like, there are consequences to certain actions. And if you walk outside without shoes, bad things can happen to your sensitive little feet.
Mommy knows best.
Pretty much. I mean, like, at least in these things, it's like I try to guide him to make smart choices, but I'm not going to try to prevent him from making bad decisions all the time, because that's how you grow. That's how you learn.
That's what kids do.
And
Well-
as long as it's not something that'll do permanent damage, like a sand spurt
Yeah.
is not going to do permanent damage. Getting a little bubble soap in your eyes, like, is not going to do permanent damage. Like, it is what it is, you know. And they're learning experiences. It's if he wouldn't feel it on his wedding day, then it's okay, you know, kind of thing. Like anything that's not going to do lasting harm, like, let him learn from it.
Well, being a parent, your job isn't to protect them from the world. It's to prepare them to deal with it when you're not there.
Kind of like my babysitting philosophy. Are you going to destroy the house? No. Is this going to result in a hospital stay? No. Carry on.
Yeah, it's like, you want to play video games? Cool. You want to eat fucking pizza rolls and potato chips? Okay. You know, as long as you're not allergic or anything like that, have at.
What? But they have some Brussels sprouts too. Come on.
Oh, hey, if you ever feel like you have too many friends, take some Brussels sprouts, dip them in chocolate, and put them in a little box and hand them out on Valentine's Day. You will have fewer friends after doing that.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
You evil bitch. You are demonic,
Now,
and I love
do
you.
you like cook them and then drain them real well, or
Either
like,
way.
fridge
But,
them
you know,
overnight so they dry out? Or
I mean, going raw would probably be the best way to guarantee that, like, you don't start to smell them, because once they
Yeah.
cook, they start to have that cabbagey smell. But if you haven't cooked them, then they don't really smell like anything.
Well, and if
So
they're raw, they're firmer.
that
For-
too.
For an encore, you mix the Skittles with the M&Ms.
Yeah, that's pretty evil too. May the odds be ever in your favor, you know.
Yeah, you know, I heard a thing that I'm not going to be having Skittles anymore.
And why
Because
is that?
apparently the company has been fined for there being heavy metals in some of the colorings,
Damn.
and they paid the fine, but they have not taken the heavy metals out. They're still selling them with the same formula.
Oh, lovely.
Okay.
Kind of like the heavy metals in the baby food.
Yep.
So no more Skittles for my son.
Yeah, it
I don't.
it kind of
I
hit
don't
me because they
believe
were
that's
candy
true.
like.
I just don't believe that's true. I mean, I believe that they had heavy metals and they got fined and stuff, but to just ignore a federal order like that, no, you can't do that.
Mhm.
Federal government's not going to let them continue to produce something with heavy metals. They're going to say fix it or shut down.
Skittles sued over alleged use of toxic chemicals in candy.
Well, I did get it from a reliable news source.
USA Today. Yeah, there's a lot of news sources covering this.
Really?
Oh, Slothgrl says you can do the same thing for Halloween. Dunk onions in caramel for candy apples.
Ooh, that's delightfully evil. Like, that belongs on the Reddit r/found Satan. I love that Reddit. It's fucking hilarious. It's just people doing evil shit.
I wonder if you could like take a melon baller and make some melon balls out of potatoes.
Yes,
And,
you could. And that would also belong on r/found Satan.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey,
Hello,
Mike.
comrade.
see you all. Hello,
How
hello,
goes?
yeah. Us just had our ballot result back today. 98.7% in favour of striking.
Good.
So Yeah.
Fucking hell yeah.
Mm.
Looks like
So
looks like the metal in the skills is titanium dioxide.
Okay.
Like I know they use that in like I'm pretty sure like that's used for like bath bombs and other things like to get like a white color. But like you're not eating it. So
it's
like
probably
there's a difference.
it's probably the undercoating before they put the candy shell
Yeah.
over top.
Jeff, you were saying striking. What's your union cover?
postal workers, that's what my sector anyway. But the communication workers union, they cover like the entire postal sector and what the old British Telecom as well, like, and and a number of call centers and stuff like that.
All
So
right.
they're
No
fairly
calls,
big
no
union
letters.
actually.
That's awesome. Like good for them. Like hopefully their fucking demands are
Well,
met quickly.
Well, there's a lot at the moment going on at the moment, Kitty. My union is because telecom workers are in dispute as well. They've already taken a couple of days strike action. Railways
Aren't your
over here have
trains
been
on strike too?
yeah. Both the station staff and so on, and the engineers that are all represented by a union called the RMT, and then the separate union that covers the train drivers. They're on strike now as well. And then I'm trying to think there's some other. I'm trying to think someone else quite big is balloting soon or talking about balloting. I don't know if it's like nurses or something. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, it's kicking off in the UK right now.
Good.
What's the primary grievance?
Well, ours is partially pay, but also it's more the fact they want to rip up our terms and conditions that I think has really annoyed people. But it's like, come on, we busted our ass through that blooming pandemic, or well, most of them did. I mean, I was sheltered for most of it because I was immunocompromised. But people struggled through that. They made this big profit of something like 758 million last year, 400 million of which they gave to shareholders. So,
and the people that actually kept it going got shafted.
They've got fuck all.
Your postal service is private?
Yeah, it's been since 2013.
And that's what the US wants. Yay.
Yeah, it was. There's two big failed experiments with privatisation in the UK. It's the postal service and the railways.
Mm-hmm.
They were much better when they were government owned.
Yeah, well, things that everyone at every income level must have access to do not work to be privately owned.
Yeah.
Or things that, are directly tied to human life, like private prisons and healthcare, don't really work.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had, well, I mean, obviously, see, we got this mix because we obviously got our National Health Service here, but if they thought they could get away with privatising it, they would, but I think they'd know it be political, but they have, should we say, just chipped away at it bit by bit over the years, but stopped short of actually privatising it. What was the other one you mentioned? Prisons. Oh, they tried that in the UK once, and it was a bloody disaster. And they let G4S run some private prisons. They were absolutely useless at it.
All right, hold on, real quick. Slothgrl, I should Gibbs smack you for that one.
Absolutely,
just come up.
I agree.
Fa-dunk!
Everybody. Oh man, that one hurts.
I like that.
Now I love you.
Hey, there's a fundraiser idea. For every $100 donated, I'll slap Slothgrl for you.
Yeah. I'm thinking. Yeah. Well, we're thinking it's of a peace offering actually to our bosses. Actually, it might be something to do with dipping Brussels sprouts in chocolate as a gift.
Yeah, I mean, because like it's evil, but it's not going to hurt anybody. Like, because the other thing would be like, dipping like fecal matter in chocolate, which that could actually make someone seriously ill.
Yeah.
That's
I would never
too
do something
far.
That's
But
maybe
doing
well,
red.
there was
something
the famous
baby onions
practical.
or something. Like, yeah, go
But-
for that.
Well, there was the famous. Well, okay. There's a YouTuber who does pranks, a Welsh YouTuber, but they're quite clearly very staged pranks. But it was intimated that he, those freezer pop things. So you buy them in the shop. They're just liquid, and you put them in your freezer, and they're icicle. They're like ice pops, kind of thing. And yeah, he sort of, should we say, pissed in one of the seals for that, and then resealed it and put it in the freezer. Was the supposedly the prank? Now I think that the thing was a setup and it was staged. It wasn't. He didn't really do that, but it was quite. It was a bit of a gross out thing at the same time, though.
Ew.
The other thing you could do is have the fucking what's the name of the Maggot cheese? Like order that and have it delivered to like his office or whatever.
Maggot cheese?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a special type of cheese that like it has live maggots in it.
Yeah, I saw a YouTube clip about that.
I'm like, I know it exists, or just like the stinkiest fucking cheese that you can find, and just have that delivered to his office.
Have you
Or
ever seen
durian.
Have you ever seen
Durian fruit? There we go.
Have you ever seen the maggot dandruff treatment?
Nope.
I think
it's like this waxy thing they put over your head with these maggots crawling around, and they eat all the dandruff off your head, and then they remove it.
I suppose
good.
that they eat the dead skin cells. I had to teach Slothgrl about the fish therapy for that. That I think it's a Japanese thing. Of just putting your feet in this bath with these fish that will chew all the dead skin cells off to get rid of all the
then
callus.
they go and outlaw that.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I was gonna say, as far as prank, as far as like prank videos and
Kazumatsu,
stuff
that's
on,
it. Thank you, Roden.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, as far as prank videos go on YouTube, though, I still think some of my favourites, because they're relatively harmless, was the ones Mark Rober did on the porch pirates with the glitter bombs and the cameras, and they were relatively harmless, but he's run that same prank for like 4 years, and people still keep falling for it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he doesn't do it at his house. Like, he does it at others.
Nah.
So, I'm pretty sure, like, he goes to other people's houses to do it.
He targets areas where, like, porch pirate things that are quite common. So he's targeted areas, and he finds people as in those areas to take part in his little experiment, in his experiment. So. But I remember one year, though, one of the people he sent one of these to decided to steal it from him. And this guy lived in Texas. And he refused to return it. So Mark Rober decided to do two things. First of all, use this guy's name and address and sign up for about $200 worth of Scientology literature, because that Scientology, once they got your details, will just bombard you for fucking ever with letters and stuff. And then the other one is he sent letters, sort of, or like postcards that are addressed to him, but to, like, unfortunately, should we say, would end up at his neighbour's house when it'd be his and it was all like his membership of Texans for Hillary Clinton. You know, so try and make him really popular with his neighbour, kind of thing.
I've done that. I had this teacher who was a real prick. He absolutely hated me. I have no idea why. I never misbehaved in his class. I did all my assignments. The guy just fucking hated me. Anyways, so I was able to find out his address because I worked in the school office. And he got subscriptions to all kinds of bad things and girly clothes catalogs, and I was able to scrape up enough money and buy him a year's worth of Playboy. And
Looking at the CDC, looks like the reason for the ban of the fish pedicures is they can't sufficiently sterilize the tubs between customers.
Ah. That
well,
makes sense.
when you're at your lake cottage and you're hanging your feet down in the water and they're eating it there, you're not sterile. What the fuck? They're just
Yeah, I had
Oh,
that happen to me.
Slothgrl. Oh, good lord.
Well, you're
I
not
had
having
that
multiple
happen to me
customers.
by accident. That when we went swimming in a lake, quite a few years ago, that they weren't bothering anybody else, but these fish were picking all the scabs off of my legs.
Slothgrl, did you get the one I sent you earlier today? You could always share that one with the crowd.
Yeah, Slothgrl, I'm just going to have to change that to a paleontologist because, paleontology is about half of my stuff on Twitter now.
So if you guys want to hear,
Just to be scientifically correct, yeah.
So if you guys want to hear another, getting back at a teacher thing, when my dad was in high school, he had this teacher that tried to make his life a living hell, including putting hands on him. And he hit my dad with a book after my dad, had told him, because he had fucking knocked him down before, and this is back in the 60s, and people just didn't care about abusing kids, I guess.
They still have did they still have corporal punishment in the schools back then? Because I mean,
Yes,
we
they
had it
did.
in the
At least the school he went to. So
they were just phasing that out in the UK when I started going to school. They could still sort of slap you or something. That they got rid of the cane, which was the thing that the old stick or whatever that the headmaster used to give you, which was the classic thing that happened with kids in the UK got.
Yeah, it was phased out by the early 90s, as far as I remember.
So anyways, so he had hit my dad repeatedly, and my dad, finally got fed up and said, don't ever put your hands on me again. And that's when the teacher hit him with a book, a big fucking Encyclopedia Britannica book. So my dad's like, okay. He went and got one of his friends, and they left at lunch. They cut class, and they snuck into the teacher's parking lot and grabbed the teacher's brand new car that was I think it was 64 or 1960 something, I don't know. And it was a convertible, a Corvette convertible, and they went joyriding in it. And then, this is Massachusetts, they parked it at the top of a hill and then rolled the bitch down the hill. The next class, the teacher knew my dad did it but couldn't prove it, and my dad just looked him dead in the eye. It's a shame. I heard what happened to your car.
Yeah, as if to say, yeah, I did it. Now, what the fuck are you gonna do about it?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much, because my dad was kind of an asshole like that.
Yeah.
No, he covered his tracks. He made sure to, not leave fingerprints or anything like that. Like they didn't have DNA back then. It was basically as long as you wore gloves and weren't spotted, at the scene of the crime,
Yeah, in the
And at
days
this point, the
before there
statute of
was security
limitations is
cameras all
over.
over.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I
like
think
at this point, the statute of limitations is over. The person whose car it was is dead. I'm not too worried about, talking
I
about
think
it.
we're talking about the 1960s here. I think we can safely say that they're not going to reopen the case.
No, especially not for property damage. Like if it were murder, sure, because there's no statute of
Yeah.
limitations on
Yeah.
that. But
I
for
don't think-
property destruction, nah.
See, I think in the UK, don't think we have any statute of limitations on anything, but they probably wouldn't waste their time with something like that happened, like something crap like that happened in the 60s. So
Yeah, it
even though
happened.
technically they could, but they wouldn't,
Yeah, it happened
Herp,
60
herp.
years ago. Like,
Perp, I'm gonna get going.
Oh, okay.
Nice seeing you, Jenny.
You have any parting words?
Let's see. No, I guess not.
don't be a cunt.
Well, no, don't be a dick.
Don't be either.
No, okay. Goes good. And don't have an obnoxious alarm on your car.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is obnoxious.
All right, we'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye, honey.
Bye, Jane. Yeah, does anyone think those car alarms are ever going to accomplish anything?
No, probably not.
Because I've known a number of cases where the alarms went off and the only thing that happened was somebody smashed the window to try and shut off the fucking alarm.
Yeah. Or it's like, a fucking, someone accidentally bumped the car, gently, like not like accident wise,
Mhm.
or, I don't know, like it's crazy. Like some of them are super sensitive though. Like, fucking animal like jumps on the car and all of a sudden it fucking starts spazzing.
I don't like where they put the alarm button on my on the little remote I have for my car.
Yeah, my car was primitive. It still didn't have a remote. You had
Hey,
to
I actually got
insert
rain.
key.
We've actually
I
had rain
actually
in
got
the
rain.
UK. We actually had rain for like the first time in a month in the UK as of like yesterday. It was so dry. It's been so dry.
It was a little bit questionable here because I was getting two different reports from the same source.
Mm.
I mean, you know how Florida's weather is, honestly. Like, it could be raining at your house and bone dry across the street.
I'm going to say, I think the heaviest rain I've ever been in my life was when I went to Florida. That was
Yeah,
because
it
I
can
went
rain
there in
pretty
like
hard here.
I went there in October, even though like most days were still very, very. I mean, for probably slightly cooler for you but yeah, for us, like it's still like 25 degrees centigrade, which is hot for British people.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one night that it rained. And I don't think I'd ever seen rain like this before in my life. And I don't think I've ever seen it since.
Yeah, no, when it rains, it definitely rains here. Like
Yeah,
we have
so-
multiple kinds of rain. Like it could be like sprinkling or drizzling or misting, and that's like, your sun showery types where it's like you'll see
Or-
drops appear on the thing, but like it's not like coming down. And then there's just fucking typhoon.
Yeah, well, I mean, you are like a hurricane sort of part, a lot of hurricane paths there, aren't you, and stuff. So
Oh yeah.
Well, apparently, it's currently 32.7 degrees Celsius here.
yeah.
So what
Uh,
area of Florida were you in?
Well, I think when it was the heavy rain, it was St. Petersburg.
Okay.
Yeah, we were there for 2 weeks. We were in Orlando for a week, sort of doing the whole, when I was a kid, doing Disney and all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
And I've got to admit, I've been both me and my mum actually have a little bit of a guilty conscience for having ever gone to SeaWorld. And now we do what. Since we found out what they did to those fucking whales,
Yeah.
But so it's like so there's almost a little bit of guilty conscience for ever patronising them, to be honest. But then we felt sort of more the Tampa side for the second week, so we stayed at St. Petersburg.
Yeah, I am maybe 25 minutes or so from SeaWorld, give or take, depending on traffic. Like, well, maybe a little further, because like as the crow flies, it was very different than actually driving around in fucking Orlando. Like, the actual traffic patterns here are fucking insane. But yeah, SeaWorld and Universal Studios is the one that's closest to me. Then SeaWorld. Disney's still a ways away. It's still about a 40-minute drive to get to Disney, but that's because it's not actually in Orlando. It's in Kissimmee. Yeah,
I'm trying to think where we went. We obviously did all the I don't think Universal had been built when I went there, so this was like the 80s, or it hadn't quite been opened yet. So did the Disney and then Epcot or whatever. Did those on SeaWorld.
Yeah, that would have been before. That would have been before they built the other part, because like they had Magic Kingdom and MGM and Epcot, and then they built the safari themed park that that happened like in the 90s. Animal Kingdom.
But we also had a day where we went, obviously went on a bit of a drive down to Cape Canaveral as well, so got to see the rockets.
Yeah, Cape Canaveral's nice. The few times that I went there for a shuttle launch, they got fucking scrubbed.
Well, actually, when I went there, they weren't really launching, because this was in the wake, this was in the sort of wake of the Challenger disaster. So, because you remember, NASA sort of didn't do a launch for several years after that, did they? So,
at least not manned launches, or very few of them, I think.
Yeah, they sort of put the whole shuttle program on hold for a couple of years after Challenger. So,
well, the Challenger happened in January of '86. I was born December of '86, so it actually happened before I was even born.
Yeah, I that's still something I can remember seeing that coming on the news in the UK as sort of just as it happened, or just after it happened, and it's really weird that of all the news programs in the UK that actually broke the story, it was a program called News Round who broke the Challenger story, and News Round was essentially a news show that was on every afternoon that was aimed at kids. But the news broke whilst that was on the air, so it was like the kids news program that broke the Challenger news.
Right.
I watched that Challenger thing go up from my living room window.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't actually remember where I was at the time for that one.
Yeah, we had it on the TV in the living room, and also we were watching it from the window with binoculars.
There are. I mean, it is actually kind of true, isn't it? What they say about certain events that you can remember where you were, what you were doing when you heard about. It is actually because, like, my mum would always say this about like the Kennedy assassination. She knew exactly what she was doing, and I sort of didn't really appreciate that, except in the years since 9/11, and I realised, I actually can remember where I was and what I was doing exactly when I first heard about that. So
yeah, for me, 9/11 and the news about Princess Diana and JonBenet Ramsey, like that's another one that I remember. I was very little for that one though, but I remember it.
Yeah, I do remember Diana quite well, but I was sort of just at home and basically got up and it's like we put the radio on, and because normally they were play all rock music, and it was just like they were playing all real like somber, like really somber classical kind of music. Like, we're like, what's going on with all the radio? And then it came on the news, and it was like, holy shit.
I remember the Gemini thing. I was actually starting. I think I was starting high school at the time. I remember even before they even came out with the whole thing. First time I saw it, I was like, this has to do with sexual assault.
Mhm.
And before they even said it, otherwise, confirmed that.
I mean, honestly, with a kid that age, like, it's unfortunately just, kind of par for the
Well,
course.
A kid that age and the whole child beauty queen thing, yeah.
Yeah. But usually kids that age, there is some type of violence. They don't die just naturally, and it's almost always someone they know. It reminds
Yep.
me of I loved the movie Land Before Time when I was a kid, and it's really tragic. Like, the original voice actress for Ducky was a little girl who essentially was murdered by her father. Like,
No, I didn't know about that.
yeah, and she was murdered, like, her and I think her mother were both murdered by her father, who was an abusive alcoholic. And
Mm.
I didn't find that until I was a little bit older. Like, I was still a child, but I was, an older child. Like, I just, realized the voice sounded a little bit different from the first movie to the second one, and that was about it. But yeah, it was fucking tragic.
10 years old. Damn.
Yeah. And, like, if I recall correctly, like, her family was essentially using her for money, but the father was just a fucking psychopath. And they were using their kid as a meal ticket. Like, this was before you really had the laws that required the parents to put the money in a trust for the kids, for the child actors.
Yeah. Shot to death.
I mean, you got to imagine, like, how horrifying that would be, as a small child, like, your last memory being your father, like, mm.
I've done better thinking about.
Yeah.
Honestly, we need to do a better job protecting our kids, and I honestly think that anyone who says that they are like pro woman, if you don't support expanding social safety net programs and instituting things like rental assistance and cost controls, then you're not actually pro woman. Because when it comes down to it, so many women end up staying with their abusers because they can't financially support themselves and their children on their own. Rent is exorbitantly expensive.
Kitties, you see, this is the problem. Their definition of being pro-woman is all to do about bathrooms. That's it.
I'm not talking about the TERFs. I'm talking about just in general. People don't stop to think about these things. The fact is late stage capitalism is contributing to more deaths of domestic violence, and domestic violence, because it is very difficult for a person, a single income person, to sustain themselves on their own, without roommates or help from others, like be it a spouse or boyfriend or family. It is very difficult. And if you don't look at all the way that this like, and I hate to say intersex because then people be like, oh, intersectional feminism is like, no, like, yes, but no, like, there are intersections of how, you know, if you can't afford to survive on your own, then, you know, you end up forced to stay with somebody who might mistreat you just because you can't do it on your own. And if you're not advocating for programs to make sure that everybody has a baseline that they can survive and sustain at, then you're not pro-woman, you know? Like,
Well, at the end of the day, all these issues are this is the thing that a lot of people don't realize. All these issues are interwoven. Where you know, some feel sometimes like people tend to forget, like that. You know, identity politics and class politics are more interwoven than some people realize. You know.
Well,
it's like,
and
if you,
unfortunately for a lot of the religious people, you know, they consider being pro-woman making sure that she remains dependent on her husband.
Yeah.
even if it ends up with, you know, dead children. But like, I mean, I don't know. And that's another thing. It's like, you know, people get scared, you know, and you've got like, you know, the politics of like fear mongering around crime and everything like that. But it's, if you truly want to lower crime rates, lower poverty. If you address poverty, crime rates fall. Just like if you address sex ed and access to contraception, unwanted pregnancies and abortions fall. There is a direct correlation between them because the number one predictor of criminality is poverty. Sure, there's going to be people that commit crimes that are affluent. I mean, look at Winona Ryder and her like shoplifting. Like, but in the grand scheme of things, that was, I'm not going to say it's a victimless crime, but it kind of is. I mean, she was stealing from like big box places and like nothing she stole was actually worth all that much. You know, it was basically just like a compulsive like spree thing, you know. But like,
I mean, the point is, yeah, you're never going to wipe crime out, altogether as an entity or whatever. But you want to seriously reduce it, then reduce poverty. It's
like increasing policing does not reduce crime. Like it doesn't.
That's why we have social welfare systems in the first place, because they determined that that was cheaper than having more police.
But now, like with how pro-cop everybody's fucking become, and I mean, my issue with the police, and like I'll readily admit, not all cops are like bad guys. Like they're not all like monsters just waiting to hunt down people of color. But it doesn't change the fact of the matter that, you know, if a cop is not like speaking up and outing the people that are the definitive bad apples, then they're culpable.
There's also the problem of the entire department backing up the bad apples.
That too.
The problem is that the departments most often punish the person reporting the abuse more than the person performing the abuse.
It's the closing of ranks, isn't it? When you know that's I think that tends to be an issue with police forces across the world, because it is certainly an issue in the UK that we've had. When we've had we've had some like cases of like deaths in police custody where it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming either in terms of either negligence by the police, or there's been some cases where it was outright the police killed the person in custody, and ranks were closed. It was it's the thing is, it's like some of these things we all knew happened, and it took us like it took us like decades to actually people campaigning to actually get the actual truth to actually be officially recognised. Like the Hillsborough Stadium disaster is a good example. 96 people died at a soccer match in the UK, and for absolute years it was blamed on football hooliganism, and it was nothing to do with football hooliganism. This was bad management of the crowds by the police, and pushed them into these stadiums. And at the time there was these there was like big fences, right, so you could stop people getting onto the pitch. And too many fans were pushed into one particular like these caged pens essentially, and people were crushed again. Crushed in the stadium. 96 people died. And I watched it live on TV, and for years and years they tried to blame this on soccer hooligans, and it had nothing to do with soccer hooliganism whatsoever. And it took. And we all knew that the police had fucked up badly, and have just absolutely fouled up their crowd control. But instead of just admitting they fucked up, they tried to cover this shit up for like 30 years, and it took 30 years of campaigning to.
And unfortunately, here, instead of fixing the problem, they're just making it harder for people to report it or document it. Like Arizona passed a law that basically it's now illegal to film the police.
That can't hold up constitutionally because, like, you have a First Amendment right.
Well, I would say so, but considering the Supreme Court we have now, I'm not too confident.
That's fair. Fair point.
See, that's that's worrying, considering how, from what little I know of how your First Amendment's supposed to work, that you're quite within your rights to observe them and film them doing this. I mean, I'd hate to. I mean, it's. So, of course, this leads us into a blooming bit of a rabbit hole with these people you get on YouTube, these auditor types or whatever, who I think are. I think a lot of them are more of a cause more problems than they actually.
Yeah. Well, but the original concept of the First Amendment auditors was a good thing, but it was supposed to be people who were filming the police without involving themselves in it. That they were supposed to be, standing back a ways and filming from a short distance to make sure the police weren't doing anything,
untoward,
illegal or whatever.
Yeah,
then you've got all these sovereign citizen idiots on YouTube that took it over.
Yeah.
Or people that actually have criminal records of doing horrendous things, and then they go and use the guise of being an auditor to essentially harass the cops.
There's a little something I wrote down a while back on this.
It's only a few people who push the cops just to create drama for their channel.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually look at. I mean, I'd say both the original First and Second Amendment auditors in the United States were probably the Black Panther Party when they started out, because essentially what they did, they didn't necessarily film the cops, but they certainly observed the cops doing what they were, making sure they were doing their jobs correctly, and maybe, and perhaps making sure they weren't brutally attacking black people they picked up on the streets, and because of course Huey Newton was a lawyer at the time, wasn't he? And the cops would try and threaten the Panthers or whatever to back off or turn over their guns, whatever it may be. That he'd written down what you say to them, and it's essentially saying, look, I can demonstrate I've got a legal right to be doing what I'm doing, and I will stand here, observe you doing this job, whether you like it or not.
And here's a little something. Here's something I wrote down a while back. It's only a few bad cops. Most of them are good. It's only a few bad cops and cops who do nothing to stop the few bad cops. It's only a few bad cops in entire precincts who protect a few bad cops. It's only a few bad cops in a system that allows a few bad cops.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is like, you know, the people on the right now that fucking deify Reagan, like, do they forget that he was the one that instituted the assault weapons ban in the first place because he wanted to take guns away from the Black Panther Party? Because he was scared.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you do some comparisons with Reagan and Obama. Sometimes
And
a few of the things Reagan actually comes out and it's more progressive. Oh, you're breaking up, Scummer.
Yeah, most of the Democrats we have now in the 80s would have been Republicans. Most of them are closer to Reagan than they have been to, you know, any of the really good Democratic presidents.
Yeah, I was just recently saying the Democratic Party is more like the Republican Party from about 30 years ago.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, I said it. Obama is the best Republican president we've had in a long time. He's a Reagan era Republican, and you know he was fine, not great, not terrible. He was all right, you know.
Yeah, we say the same thing about Tony Blair, the best conservative prime minister Britain's ever had. So.
Yeah, I wanted to read this bit that Slothgrl just posted here. I'm rather relaxed about death. From quite an early age, I've regarded it as part of the deal, the unwritten guarantee that comes with your birth certificate. From Doug Benson. And yeah, I have really been surprised with, you know, Slothgrl is coming to terms with things very quickly.
Fucking unsolicited text messages from fucking pollsters and campaigns. I got one from Ron DeSantis, and even though I know it was a bot, I responded that basically DeSantis is a sociopathic fascist and he's bad for Florida and America.
No, you know the reputation Florida has. Do you want that for the entire country?
Yeah. Make America Florida again. Eesh.
Well, and DeSantis was going well until he threw his support behind Trump again, and he kind of shot himself in the foot with that.
Well, see, this is the good thing. See, at least not everything that's happened in Florida over the past couple of weeks has been bad, you see, so.
It's been pretty bad.
Yeah, I wish I could get you all out of there.
I was thinking more of Trump's place getting raided. That cheered me up a little.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I'm not convinced that the fucking Dems aren't going to botch it. Like, if they don't actually charge him with something, then, like, it's not going to end well.
Yeah, never underestimate the Democrats' ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yep.
Yeah. There's so many bloody similarities between the Democrats and the fucking Labour Party in the UK when it comes to that. And always trust the Labour Party to shoot themselves in the foot as well.
I mean, I'd still be Labour if I was in the UK because, like, you know, it's just like here, I'm a Democrat. Like, I don't, like, the Democratic Party doesn't really stand for me, but especially in my state where it's closed primaries, meaning if you're not in that party, you can't vote in the primary before the election to help decide, like, who's going to run against the Republican in the general election.
Yeah.
Well, I am wondering if there's a chance that, you know, the Christians, the moderate Christians, are going to realize that they don't want to be associated with the fanatical Christians. And if, you know, if that could make the Republican Party self-destruct, is it possible that we could get a new party forming that feeling that thanks to compete against the Democrats, they need to go to the left.
Just right
Mm.
now with our two-party system, like a third party's not viable.
This is
Oh,
always
that
been
could be viable if we actually stood up and voted for one.
this has always been the problem where we've had little attempts in Britain at forming like a left outside of the Labour Party with occasional little successes, but we've never been able to sustain it.
Yeah.
And that's been the bit of. I feel sometimes some people think like the Green Party are a bit of a left alternative to Labour, but the Greens are pretty bad on some issues as well. Like their attitude towards like Labour unions and that is disgusting. So, they've got one MP who got a woman called Caroline Lucas, who is a woman I do have a lot of respect for, actually. But she's one of the really good ones. But the Green Party as a whole, I agree with them on most things, but there's things where they're really quite bad as well.
Yeah, it sucks, like there aren't very many candidates that actually do align with my values because I am to the left of most people.
Yeah. Well, it is one of the things, right? I'm quite serious that Minnesota is one of the best states, I think. And, even to the point that Minnesota has from time to time elected third-party candidates, at least to the state legislature. I mean, we had an independent governor at one point.
Oh, for Jesse, wasn't it?
Yep.
Is that Jesse Ventura?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, he used to be pretty. He went nuts on bloody conspiracy theories, though. Sadly, but he was quite good on some political issues, though.
He still
Some of
is
the things
kind of
I heard
good
him.
on some things.
Yeah, I mean, I know he. I don't. I mean, yeah. Some of the things I've heard him talk about. I thought he's quite good on certain politics, but then he's got a bit nuts into like conspiracy theory stuff as well. I mean, I saw him. I felt really he made a big mistake going on bloody InfoWars a few times that he did, and I was like, even though he would very
overall,
openly disagree with Jones, but
overall, I don't think he was a good governor because I think on the broad spectrum, he really didn't understand financing very well. I don't think he did anything that, managed the state's money very well.
No. He got, because he actually when he was still a wrestler, he actually tried to get like wrestlers unionized, and he got but he got fucked over in that attempt as well. So
yeah.
Like, I'm just waiting for us to go fucking post-capitalist.
Yeah.
It'll happen eventually, but society will collapse first.
Civil war.
I don't think it'll. I don't think it's one of those things though that I think. Can I see us going completely post-capitalist in our lifetimes? No, but because I think sort of the stink of that system is going to take a long time to go away. But I think hopefully we can make a good start in the right direction in our lifetimes, and
Well, I'm not entirely against capitalism per se. It's the predatory capitalism that we have.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, capitalism where all of the employees would actually get a share of the profits would not necessarily be a bad thing.
When we don't need to use capitalism for every single friggin' thing, like, universal healthcare. We don't need capitalism for our healthcare.
We need a blended system. There are some things that actually work better with socialism, which is basically anything that is a basic need should be socialized.
And history has shown that a blended system actually seems to be the superior system.
And the most stable.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no system in a pure form ever survives very long.
Yeah, I mean, capitalism is, in particular, is a system that is prone to crisis. So.
Well, because you need a permanent underclass for it to truly work.
Yep.
There's that as well, but it's understanding the whole boom slump cycle and the sort of general tendency of rate of profit to fall. All that stuff is
boom bust cycle.
And infinite growth. They expect to maintain infinite growth, and you can't do that.
That's a definite.
That will never happen. It's not. Yeah, I mean, I mean, I remember one of our former prime ministers. He was a Labour one, actually, Gordon Brown. This guy who took over from Blair, but he proudly announced when he was when he was sort of in charge of the British economy, that he'd ended the boom bust cycle. And we're like, oh, you are going to eat your words so badly one of these days. And 2008 come around and says, well, you got halfway there. You ended the boom. Yeah. But I was like, you don't. I heard him say that at the time, and I'm there like, God, don't say things like that, because you are going to live to eat those words.
Ended the boom part.
Well, people, I'm functioning on very little sleep, and we've been going 3 hours, so I think I'd like to wrap it up here.
Sure.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, well, Kitty, I know you had mentioned at the beginning of the show that you're going to be on with Granny tonight.
Yes, at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Godless Granny's channel. It's an AMA. So basically you can ask either of us anything. It'll be a nice chat. It'll be fun. Definitely come check it out.
And can I forward a question? An ask me anything question. That's why can't you and Granny stream at a time where I'm not in bed?
Oh. Sorry, honey.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm usually over on Diane's channel at that time.
I always I'm generally always seeming to be catching Granny's streams on catch up, so because she's always on really late for me. So.
Well, Jeff, have you got anything coming up? You've actually been putting more out on your channel as of late.
Yeah, I haven't put anything out for over a week now, but I haven't got a date set. I'm speaking with some of the guys from the Free Thought Profit podcast, though, because I've been diving into this nonsense with Atheist Alliance International. So I kind of wanted to get them on to sort of speak a bit about what the hell's going on with that group, because that is such a well, it's an absolute clusterfuck, that organisation. It really is. So the guys on Free Thought Profit have done a lot of deep dives onto that. So I'm hoping to get them on to talk about that.
Yeah, to be honest, I try to avoid the drama, so I only
I don't view of what's gone on with them so much as drama, though. I actually think it's quite important that when we're looking at the only atheist organization that's got recognition in the United Nations and the Council of Europe, and it's being run the way it is, I don't sort of view that as drama. And I think that's because they're really messing that organization up. So
yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more to it than I've been aware of, but I've had to deal with things closer to home the last couple
I
months,
understand that. Yeah.
Okay, well, Mage, how about you?
I got my channel Gardens Happen. I recently put up a video on converting the brassica stalks, that's your broccoli or cauliflower and whatnot, into bird toys. I recommend go checking that one out.
Yep.
There's a channel link if anyone isn't subscribed to me. I only picked up one new subscriber so far this week with that last video, so please go check it out. I'll probably be over on Diane's channel, Lavender Lady. later today if she does anything. If not, I'll be hanging out in Godless Granny's chat.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen anything from Diana today, but
Yeah, she's been usually releasing it like within the hour beforehand.
yeah, she hasn't been putting up the notices much before, which is why I'm usually missing them because most of the time, if she doesn't put up the notice until I'm upstairs with Slothgrl, I don't know about it.
But she's usually streaming today at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'll just be doing my usual thing. We'll be back here tomorrow at 10 p.m. And, next Wednesday at noon. And I'll probably be on Saturday at 6 with the shills.
Oh.
So with that, I would like to thank my supporters here and, of course, Ox and Robert X, who both support me on Patreon and have, taken care of being the moderators. So appreciate everything they do with, squashing all the spam bots and such for us. And Skitscrasher and Jyuni. And as we were just talking about Diana, she's also one of my supporters, Lavender Lady, and Kitty here with us, as well as Greg Hartwick, Dog, and Vonrek. So, appreciate all of you helping me keep things going here. And with that, we will bid you all a good day.